Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to call our regular meeting of the Del Mar College Board of Regents to order at 1 p.m. on Tuesday, May 14th. Thank you all for being here today. Happy graduation month. We're almost there. I'm going to call a quorum call roll to establish our quorum. Regent Loeb. Here. Regent Garza. Here. Dr. Adami. Here. Regent Averett. Here. Regent Kelly. Here. Regent Krull. Here. Thank you. I'm Carol Scott. We have a quorum and can conduct business. Would you please join me in a moment of silence? Thank you very much. Dr. Adami, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And please join us as we read our Del Mar College vision statement. Del Mar College will be the premier choice for life-changing educational opportunities provided by responsive, innovative faculty and staff who empower students to improve local and global communities. Thank you. Del Mar College is streaming our live audio and video from the official Board of Regents meeting on the college's website in real time, with exception of portions of the meeting that may be considered closed session by statute. At this time, we have an opportunity for anyone to make public comment for items not on our agenda today. Is there anyone here to make general public comment? Seeing none, we will move straight into our recognitions, and we are very, very proud to have the first recognition for us today, and I'm going to ask Dr. Bryan Stone to come forward as Dr. John DeHalcom introduces him.
Madam Chair, Regents, Dr. Escamilla, I'm pleased to announce that Dr. Bryan Stone, Professor of History, received the prestigious Piper Professor Award. Each year, the Piper Foundation honors only 10 professors from colleges and universities from across the state. The honor recognizes educators' dedication to the teaching profession and their outstanding academic, scientific, and scholarly achievements. I can't emphasize enough how prestigious the Minnie Stevens Piper Foundation Piper Professor Award is as one of the highest honors in Texas that a faculty can receive as recognition of their superior teaching. Dr. Stone has over 27 years of teaching experience. He received a Bachelor of Arts in English from the University of Texas, a Master of Arts in English from the University of Virginia, and a PhD in American Studies and Civilization from the University of Texas at Austin. He began at Del Mar College in August 2004 as an assistant professor and was promoted to professor in 2015. His excellence in teaching was recognized by his peers, who in 2019 honored him with the college's highest award for teaching excellence, the Dr. Eileen Creighton Award for Teaching Excellence. In 2021, he was recognized as Teacher of the Year by his students. Dr. Stone has served on numerous Del Mar College committees, including chairing the General Education Committee, the Faculty Council, and the Promotion, Rank, Tenure, and Evaluation Task Force. He has provided interviews for video documentaries and the National Public Radio. Dr. Stone is not only an excellent professor, but also a prolific writer. He has authored 3 books, numerous book chapters, and scholarly articles. In addition, he has given presentations locally as well as conferences across the country. His book, The Chosen Folks, Jews on the Frontiers of Texas, won the Southern Jewish Historical Book Prize in 2011. His other 2 books, Memories of Two Generations, A Jewish Life in Russia and Texas, the memoir of Alexander Z. Gurwitz, and Neither Fish Nor Fowl, A Jewish Family on the Rio Grande, the memoir of Morris S. Riskind. He also serves as a managing editor of Southern Jewish History. Dr. Stone is highly respected by his students and colleagues, serving as a role model. Students find that he makes a lasting impact on them. Former students describe Dr. Stone as experienced, patient, compassionate, fair, respectful, and an inspirational educator. They also note his teaching style reflects demonstrated passion, enthusiasm, and an understanding of history that makes learning enjoyable and interesting. One student said Dr. Stone possesses a great passion for what he teaches, but also has the ability to communicate that passion in an empathetic and respectful way. Dr. Stone received on May 1st, 2024, from the Minnie Stevens Piper Foundation a certificate designating him a 2024 Piper Professor, along with a $5,000 honorarium check and commemorative gold pin. We presented him with these items on May 1st in front of his history class and with some of his colleagues. I would like to now share this certificate that we framed. We did not give him a framed certificate earlier. We showed it to him only, but it says, Minnie Stevens Piper Foundation, know all men by these presents that the Board of Directors of the Minnie Stevens Piper Foundation has conferred upon Bryan Edward Stone, PhD, Professor of History, Social Sciences, Del Mar College, the title of Piper Professor of 2024 for outstanding scholarly and academic achievement given in San Antonio in the state of Texas, this the first day of May 2024. I'd like you to please join me in congratulating Dr. Bryan Stone on this prestigious award.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you. Dr. Halcomb, thank you very much. Regents, Dr. Escamilla, thank you so much. I want to add something to what Dr. Halcomb just said. The list of recipients this year, 10 people receive this award every year, are drawn from college and university faculty throughout the state. This year, I am the only one who teaches at a community college. The others are, the other 9 are university faculty. And for me, that makes this award even more important, even more of an honor. I feel like it reflects, at least I hope it reflects on the entire college. It reflects on what all of us do here, that it sort of shows how we kind of measure up against the best universities and colleges in the state. This is not something by any means that I earned by myself. This is not a reflection on me. I'm privileged and honored to work with a faculty that is extraordinary. I have learned from them how to do this job. I'd be terrible at this if I didn't have colleagues showing me how to do it, going all the way back to when I started. I've had the privilege of working with some exceptional people here, including Brian Hart, who's right over there, who's been an important mentor. Mike Onzaldua, Irma Woods, Liz Flores, numbers of others over the years who've had an impact on me who I would not have known had I not been at Del Mar College. So I'm grateful for that opportunity and grateful to be part of this, this wonderful institution. And very proud of this award and proud to bring it back to Del Mar. So thank you all very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Dr. Stone, on behalf of the Board of Regents, we want to extend our congratulations as well. We recognize that what you do, what your colleagues do with our students is the reason why we exist. We exist to represent the community and the taxpayers and the voters and to try to create governance around this work we call community college. But you all do the real work. You all do that face-to-face teaching that inspires our students. And for your colleagues in the audience today, yourself, and for the many folks that are impacted by the work, we want to say thank you, and thank you for the representation of our outstanding faculty today. Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Halcomb, next one.
Yes. How can we match that? Wow. Now, the Piper Professor Award is very distinguished. We hadn't had a Piper Professor awards for about 18 to 20 years, and this is very meaningful. and he's obviously done a fantastic job in his profession, and we really appreciate that, Bryan, very much. Okay, I'd like Cynthia Bridges and Sydney Saumby to come forward, please. We work with the Texas Success Center, as many of you do as well, and you work with Martha Ellis in the Success Center. But the Texas Success Center sent a request for nominations for their 2024-25 Leadership Academy for Student Success back in March. So we nominated a couple of individuals that you see here. This one-year leadership development program partners with the National Center for Inquiry and Improvement and the Aspen Institute for Community College Excellence. And it will build the bench of diverse pathways, skilled mid-level leaders with a solid, what they call build the bench of diverse, as I mentioned before, but they provide them with a solid foundational understanding of critical success and change management concepts. The curriculum of the Academy aligns with the strategic priorities of the Texas community colleges and the talent-strong Texas pathways. Dr. Cynthia Bridges, Dean of Communications, Fine Arts, and Social Sciences Division, and Dr. Sydney Saumby, Associate Vice President of Institutional Effectiveness and Academics, were selected to be members of the Academy, and we're really proud of them. Dr. Saumby and Bridges have exhibited clear leadership potential and interest in advancing within the college and in their field. They have both worked with the Texas Success Center, attending Pathways Institutes, and developing strategies for student success at our college. The Leadership Academy will give them requisite knowledge and skills to support the adoption of institutional reform. We are pleased to have these two talented individuals be selected for this important academy. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Cynthia Bridges and Dr. Sydney Saumby.
Just would like to say, as always, thank you for the opportunities to do these fun and exciting things. This has been on my list of areas to grow in my evaluations with Dr. Halcomb, probably since I started out as chair. And so to attend a really high-level leadership academy that's going to assist me in knowing more about change management and how to help my division and us across the college experience change and make it a positive impact for our students is really important to me.
Thank you for the nomination and for the opportunity to be able to have the time away to do this Leadership Academy. If I could say one thing I'm most excited about is with our Pathways Institute, there's been a lot of focus on workforce programs. We bring continuing education along, but this opportunity allows me a lot of time and energy with Dr. Bridges, who is responsible for a lot of our transfer programs. So we'll be able to bring a very well-rounded experience back with us to move the college forward in all our programs. So thank you again.
Congratulations to you both. We'll now move on to our student success report, and I'm happy to welcome to the podium Dr. Jack Southard, who is going to talk to us about our Math Learning Center.
Good afternoon, everyone. Regent Scott. Carol knows enough about me to extort me this very moment.
I'm going to treat you very professionally today, Dr. Southard, as I hope you will me.
So thank you for that. Folks, it's both a privilege and an honor to speak on behalf of the Math Learning Centers, and I'd like to give you a little historical perspective about them. Is the mouse here? Is this the mouse? Okay, there we go. There, thank you. Yeah, the Math Learning Center was founded by Eggsy Hall in 1996. Eggsy was a professor of mathematics. She was also a winner of the coveted Eileen Creighton Award. And they first started out in one classroom in Memorial. Memorial's that building on the corner of Baldwin and Ayers that's being remodeled as we speak. And eventually it grew and grew and grew, and now we have the Math Learning Center in the Coles building on the Heritage campus. We have one also on the Windward campus, emerging technologies, and the newest one is the Oso Creek campus. And in terms of the services that they administer, they have walk-in tutoring. Students just show up and they hear the letters MLC, they know what you're talking about. You don't have to make a reservation, no appointments needed. They have textbooks there, they have calculators, and most math professors use online homework platforms. So if they don't have a computer at home, they can use the ones there, which is good. They just pop their hand up and then someone will be there to service them. And they also offer support for TSI, for students who are looking to raise their REM levels in the math component. They support all 21 of the math courses that are taught by the Department of Mathematics, but it's more than that. Any course that's math-oriented, particularly chemistry, physics, the list goes on, they're there to help them. And I can tell you, as a professor of chemistry for 34 years, one of the first things that I would do is I would walk my students over to the Math Learning Center and show them where it was. And I just know that they helped buttress everything that we did. We have 3 locations, as I had indicated earlier. Did I skip one? No. And the newest location, again, is in the STEM building on the Oso Creek campus. And you can't miss it. As soon as you come off the elevator, it's right there to the left. And guess what? That's where the math courses are taught, on the 2nd floor. And right across the way is where we teach engineering. So it's an ideal location. It's beautiful. In terms of numbers, okay, these numbers are staggering when I first saw them. When you're a student and you make use of the Math Learning Center, you log in. And then you also indicate what you're there for, and then you log out. So they're able to keep track of how many students come and what the reason they're there for. And so Heritage alone in academic year 22-23 had almost 10,000, and cumulatively over 16,000 students showed up for assistance. So the numbers are just staggering. They offer weekly sign-ins. The cumulative data is very impressive, as you can see, but it's not unusual on the Heritage campus to have as many as 200, 300 plus students on a weekly basis. So the students really make use of this area. In terms of the breakdown for the assistance they need, college algebra represents about 1/5 of the demand for the assistant instructors and people in the Math Learning Center. Next to that would be developmental math. And I'm very impressed to see that chemistry also is well represented in terms of students needing assistance. Because math professors, they teach up to 5 or 6 classes, and so they're not always handy during their office hours. So sometimes they need to reach out. And so the Math Learning Centers are one of the best places to go for that. This particular graph that we're looking at pretty much says it all. This kind of deals with time on task. It's entitled Time Spent in MLC versus Final Grade. If you look to the lower right, you can see along the x-axis where the A, then you see B, C, D, work backwards all the way to the F and R. R means repeat, and of course W's, which we try to keep at an irreducible minimum. For students who spent 17 plus hours in the Math Learning Center, odds of them making an A are much greater. So again, it just proves the case that time on task, and there's people to help you there in order to continue to prosper in mathematics. Our staff, we have one director, and I'd like them to stand at this moment. This is Mr. Eric Moeller. Okay, he's the director, and he's accompanied by, come on up, stand up. Don't be shy. We have 5 assistant instructors on the Heritage Creek campus. We have 2 at the Oso Creek and 1 at Windward. Doing the math, pardon the pun, if you add up the total experience right there, it's over 140 combined years of experience. And they have also 15 part-time staff. And these are the kindest, most welcoming people I've ever met. And thank you, Bud. The hours of the Math Learning Center are very flexible. For Mondays through Thursday, they're open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 12-hour window slots. And again, just walk up if you need that help. They have an online presence as well. Students simply, if their computers at their home or wherever they're at, they can log in and seek online help. Oso Creek campus, Windward Creek campus, not as many hours there because those don't have quite the student population, but Monday through Thursday, they're there for a significant period of time. And there's opportunities for students to submit responses to some of their experiences there. And I would like to read that last one if you don't mind. And I just think this kind of summarizes it all. It says, I really appreciate this service. The people who work here are very hospitable and make a great effort in helping us students and assisting us in improving not just in math, but in our work ethic. And I think that goes along. I think you all understand that once you establish that work ethic, because these people, I'm telling you, not only do they know their subject areas, not only are they well organized, but they love what they do. And I think that speaks volumes for the Math Learning Center and why I'm so proud to have them as a part of the STEM division. And thank you. Any questions?
Do you have any questions for Dr. Southard?
Just a comment. I know that my son, when he was in Del Mar, used this resource frequently and spoke very highly of it. So thank you on behalf of the Kellys.
Thank you for that, Regent Kelly. We appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments? Thanks for being here, Dr. Southard, and thank you all for your work in the Math Learning Center. And please pass on to your part-time colleagues as well. We do appreciate all that you do. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to our college president's report. Dr. Escamilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's been a busy month and a half. I guess we can look, as we're looking back, I want everybody to know that in April, there was lots of time spent, if not physically, virtually in Austin by myself. So on the 18th, I had the privilege of attending the TACC and Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board leadership meeting. I continue to stay in close contact with the coordinating board staff. I think one of the things that came to mind when I reread my activities of the last month and a half was really the closeness, the degree to which the coordinating board is working with the Association of Community Colleges is very, very different in recent years with the leadership there. And I just got to give them hats off and kudos there to that partnership. On the 22nd of May, the proposed rules overview meeting with Commissioner Keller is another meeting that I attended. I continue to work on these nuances and both formally and informally. I want you all to know the importance of this meeting because as HB 8 continues to be rolled out, it's going to be some time before we really begin to see some of the, I would say, more obvious gains that we're not seeing today. And what do I mean by that? There's certain rules there that we have to watch very specifically, and I'm glad to be a part of that. There's some things that I would say I don't agree with, but it's an opportunity, again, both formally and informally, to be there with Commissioner Keller to talk about our perspective as I represent Del Mar College, certainly, and the rest of the state. So just want you to know I continue to work there. On the 24th, our quarterly meeting was held in earnest, and nowadays that meeting is more virtual than anything else and saves everybody a whole heck of a lot of time and resources from traveling and so forth. And then I have a little update on some numbers here regarding spring graduation, spring 2024 graduation, which will be this Friday at 7 o'clock. Mark will be there on time. Patricia, I promise, even though you're going to be graduating and getting hooded with your doctorate, congratulations, Dr. Patricia. Anyway, so this spring graduation will have a total of 926 total graduates, completers, with what we think is a number of participants, which is 695 students have signed up to participate. All right, everybody take your vitamins. Everybody get ready. It's going to be a very busy evening with 327 Associate of Arts. 327 Associate of Applied Science degrees, 266 Associate of Arts degrees, 60 Associate of Science degrees. That number used to be tiny every semester. That's really good. 14 Associate in Arts and Teaching degrees being awarded, 332 Level 1 certificates, 82 Level 2 certificates, 52 Occupational Safety Awards, 1 Advanced Technical Certificate, 3 Enhanced Skills certificates for a total of 1,137 credentials awarded. That's really good. So that concludes my, and then be there, 7 o'clock Friday. That concludes my report. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry? I'll be on time. I'll be there early, Patricia. She always gets mad at me. All right. So anyway, that concludes my report.
Dr. Escamilla, are you comfortable sharing one of the proposed rules that you're working on with Commissioner Keller? You were talking to me about that last week on welding.
Sure. As an example of the nuances, the informal conversations that I have, that I'm able to have with the commissioner, means I get to pick up the phone and talk to him and complain. And so last week I was complaining, right, about the fact that there's a high demand list out there of programs and so forth, and certain programs such as welding surprisingly are not on there. And I understand that there's a litany of rules and everything else as to how they're rolling them in and everything else, that that particular field doesn't fit, as an example, in the high demand area. Well, they ultimately will become part of the high demand areas of studies, but it's going to take some time. And I don't think we can afford the time, and that we can afford to forego the attention / resources that would be put behind it for the next 3 years. And so I get to call, and we get to sit and talk and express our opinions and such, and the response is really, really incredible. The attention that Commissioner Keller gives these kinds of conversations is really, really important. And he really does understand the regional needs and so forth, and is trying to balance out statewide needs and so forth. But not only welding, but we have others as process technology and a few others that are absolutely critical to our regional economy. So those are the nuanced or the finer details of these kind of conversations that take place in these meetings. Thank you for asking.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions for Dr. Escamilla? Seeing none, we will start our staff reports, and we're going to ask Mr. John Johnson to give us a presentation on our property tax numbers. And as you may have seen from Ms. Pettis, that this is Mr. Johnson's last board meeting with us, and we're going to wish you a wonderful retirement and let you know that we're going to miss you very much, Mr. Johnson.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to being able to work at the college. I've actually enjoyed what I do. I know some people in accounting who are not in accounting would wonder, why would anybody enjoy doing that? But it's something that I have been doing now for 41 years, and I hope to continue doing that somewhat in the future. Anyway, going forward, as you might remember, in March, there was a presentation made on tax collections and the assumptions and projections that we make during the year. And I apologize for not being at that meeting, but from my understanding, there were some questions that were raised that hopefully maybe I can clear up a little bit today. So my part of the presentation is really dealing with the collection rate. So I'll start there. The main thing that I think everybody needs to understand is the collection rate that's calculated by the county is completely different than how we calculate our collection rate here at the college. There's a whole different process that's used. The county is only concerned with the collections based on total assessments. They take nothing into consideration for protests, litigation, TIFs, anything else that happens. So the information that they use, they receive directly from the appraisal district. The only thing that the county really does is collect taxes. That's their entire job. So when they start out, they take the total amount of the total assessed value that is only adjusted for exemptions. Anything else is not adjusted at all, and they assume that we're going to collect 100% of those taxes. Well, that would be nice. We would collect probably an extra $10 million a year if that were the case, but that's not going to happen. So when you go on to the, well, let me talk about ours a little bit. We get our certified appraisals in at the end of July. At that time, we have to begin calculating how we think our actual revenues are going to turn out at the end of the year. So we have to look at what we think protests are going to be, what the outcomes are going to be, what the final litigation is going to look like, all the TIF adjustments that are included, any penalty and interest that we might collect during the year, and delinquency. So we have to do that at the beginning. The county could care less at that point in time. So going on to the next slide, and I'll try to follow this. Both the county and the college get the beginning taxable value of $40,499,000, and we both have, they know what our combined tax rate is 0.237002. So at that point in time, the tax levy is the same. There's where the similarities end as far as what's happening. And I'm going to talk about the county side first, which is the left column. So if you go down, you'll see that they assume we're going to collect 100%, the $95,984,946, and go all the way down until you get to adjustments and transfers to inactives. And what that means is the county receives from the appraisal district all those protests that have been finalized and litigations that has been resolved, and it also included additional exemptions like disabilities that have been granted after the certification date. Those are all known factors. There's no guesswork in what they give. So they, at that point in time, they say your tax levy is, your adjusted tax levy is $95,074,259, and your total collections as of March, this is as of March, are $85,565,000. So your collection percentage, according to them, is 90%. I'm going to go a little bit off script right now, and you're not going to see it there. When I looked at this, and I know the people in my office, the first thing I said was, that amount for adjustments and transfers to inactives can no more be correct than the man on the moon. And the reason I say that is because the tax collections of March 31st included the settlement with Flint Hills. The valuation adjustment from assessment to what was settled was not included in those inactive figures at all. So I went back and I looked at it and I said, okay, what would have been the real adjustment at that point in time? And the real adjustment would have been, it was $2,700,000 and some odd $1,000 should have been the adjustment at that point in time. So their collection rate was really not 90%. It was more like 92% because their adjusted levy should have come down. The other thing that I noticed is that their collections, they collect the TIF, the amounts that go into the CLIF, into the TIF. But they don't include those in their numbers. Well, they should because it's in their total assessed value. We adjust them out, but they don't. So there's another $900,000 the tax office should be adding to collections. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in. So I'll go back on the Del Mar side. Well, of course, we start out with the same tax levy, and then we look at the amounts given from the appraisal district. One is the protest that they feel like we will not collect on. And of course, these are in dollars, not in property valuation. So the first one is $272,000 that I adjust out of the levy. And that $272,000 is really based on a valuation of $114 million in total property values. The other amount is the appraisal district gives us the total value that is going into the tax reinvestment zone. The dollar figure for that is $956,000, so I know that's going to be transferred to them. We will never see it. So at that point, my unadjusted tax levy is $94,756,000. Historically, I have seen a collection rate over the years of anywhere from 95 to just over 96%. It hasn't fluctuated much beyond that. I took the lower collection value due to the huge volume of protests that I was seeing and was afraid that we would not make those collection rates. So I went with the lower value, lower collection value. Now, normally that would be mostly the end. Every year that has been the end, except for what we collect in delinquent taxes and penalty and interest. That's the end of my adjustments. Well, as you know, this year we had the first time problem where we had two of our biggest petrochemical companies file protests. And normally the difference would be included in my collection rate in prior years. But in prior years, that difference between assessed value and what they were willing to pay on was maybe $300 million. Well, when you get into the billions, you can't do that. You have to hold that as a separate line item. So that's why you will see that I backed out $5.3 million, which was my estimate of what we would not receive due to the difference between assessed and what was being protested by those two entities. So my gross tax levy was $85,857,000. My collections to date, as of at the end of August, was $85,485,000, which was really 3% higher than we normally collect at this point in time. But you have to remember, we received those funds from Flint Hills, which was really about 300, I can't, the exact number, 300 million more than we had anticipated receiving on the valuation piece. So we ended up getting an additional $771,000 that I wasn't anticipating. So that's why my collection rate is 99.57%. Are there any questions on that?
I have a question on line item number 4. So the 5.3 million, is that for multiple industrial protests, or is that still the remaining one?
That's for the two for this year.
Okay, for the current year, because they didn't settle for current year, they settled for previous years. Okay.
For next year, that, of course, that'll change.
Any other questions?
Do we know where next year is? Have we heard anything?
We have gotten a preliminary number. Now, the preliminary number is just a number. It has nothing attached to it. And I almost hate to get involved in that at this time.
You're on your way out.
That preliminary number is sometimes way off, sometimes it's close, sometimes you don't know. And that preliminary number this year came in less than last year's preliminary.
On our total valuation.
On the total valuation. And part of the problem that I see is there's really two problems, and Jackie will get more into that as we go along. One was when Flint Hills settled, we lost, between the assessed value and what was agreed on, $800 million in assessed value. So that reduces our beginning balance next year. The other thing is there is new legislation that was passed, and it's called the circuit breaker law, which became aware of, we probably should have known this before. And that basically says that all non-homestead property that's valued $5 million or less is capped at a 20% rate, a growth rate.
Right.
They've never had that before. According to the appraisal district, that'll cost us valuations of about $400 million. These are all preliminary numbers. So really we're starting out with $1.2 billion less than what was appraised this year. So in order to keep the same adjusted taxable value next year, you're going to have a significant increase in your valuations. I personally don't see that happening. We projected a 2%, which was in our budget figure this year. I don't know that we'll reach that 2%. We may be flat. The good thing that I see, if you want to consider it a good thing, is when we had this issue with Valero and Flint Hills, it forced us to reduce our tax rate by over 2%, over 2 pennies over the prior year rate, with the knowledge that we weren't going to collect a large portion of that. So even if the valuations don't, what happens if the valuations don't change? In order to get more property tax revenue, you're going to have to raise your taxes now. And we talked about that last year. This isn't something new. We knew this was going to happen. Since Flint Hills did settle, that did help out somewhat. But I estimate that, you're going to have to raise your tax rate about half, back up about half of what we went down last year. I don't see how you can get around that. And personally, I don't see anything wrong with it because everybody got a good reduction in their tax rate last year. But, that we shall see what happens. This is all something new that we've never seen before. So these are all things that you'll have to think about going forward.
While you're retired.
While I'm retired. Anyway, going on to the next slide, this just gives you the collection rate as of March, and you can see that in blue that the amount in blue is what the county rates are based on total assessed value, and what's in yellow is what our collection rate is based on budget. So normally we run about anywhere from 95.5% to 96% of budget this time of year, and by year end, we've collected all of our taxes. So we're really in a good position this year. Are there any questions on that particular slide? What this slide does is just give a comparison of the 23 collections as of March to 24. In 23, we were right on track. We were at about 96%. So our total budget was $88 million. We collected about $84 million as of March 31st. This year, our budget was $85,857. We've collected a total of $85,485. $772,000 of that was for those additional funds we received over the value that we had anticipated receiving from the Flint Hill settlement. So the plan is that revenue is to be used to pay for the one-time adjustment to pay for employees. Are there any questions? All right, thank you. I think that was it. Okay,
Thanks, John.
Jackie will take over from here.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Good afternoon. So now we're going to go over how we make those determinations for our assumptions on our property tax revenue budget, and then we're going to discuss the property valuation appeals. So when we estimate our property tax revenue, we evaluate the overall tax rate, we compare that to the prior years, and then we also ensure that we don't go over that 8% above the no new revenue rate that we're allowed. So for new construction, we typically try to stay conservative when we're estimating new construction. And over the last 5 years, that's fluctuated ranging from anywhere from $300 million to $600 million a year. So when we're doing our estimate, we try to remain conservative and typically stay around $300 million. However, if we receive information from the appraisal district that indicates otherwise, we will adjust accordingly along the process. So with last year's challenges, we consider those adjustments to account for the impact of those industrial lawsuits. So we take into consideration their value in the prior year, and then we also create an estimate based on those prior years on what they've paid on to kind of estimate what we think they're going to pay. And then we take that difference and we adjust our property tax revenue budget. We may not receive those funds until those lawsuits are settled. So as we move forward, we'll stay in close contact with the appraisal district and keep everybody informed on the progress of those challenges. Are there any questions on those? Okay.
Not a question, but a comment on the new construction. I think another source of information might be the city's Development Services Department that issues permits and also issues certificates of occupancy. And so it would seem to me like once a certificate of occupancy is issued, that's a good candidate for being on the tax rolls as being a completed project. So, that's just another opportunity for fine-tuning that number.
Yes, and there's been some discussions with the appraisal district, but I was going to save that information for the next presentation. I was trying to separate them a little bit. Thank
just
you.
an FYI, Regent Kroll, we do use that as a KPI, and I think that some of the information was presented, the number of permits in our March collection report that was presented to the board. So yes, we do capture that, we summarize it, and we're tracking that information. Thanks.
Yes. Any other questions? Okay. So for our property valuation growth, we typically use a 3 to 4% from year to year for that growth rate. And the reason why we do that is because historically that's what it's been. So you can see in this graph from 2017 to 2021, it typically was between 3 and 5%. So we try to be conservative, but then in the last 2 years, we saw significant increases in the property values, up to 17% last year. But we try to remain conservative when we're doing our estimates, so we typically use that 3 to 4%. Are there any questions on that? Okay, sorry. So with the increased property values, especially in the last 2 years, there's also been a significant increase in the property valuation appeals. So as you can see in this graph, in 2022, the appraisal district had a 20% increase in the number of appeals filed compared to 2021. And in 2023, there was a 37% increase in the number of appeals that were filed compared to 2022. For residential, that increase was 47% from the number of appeals filed in 2023 compared to 2022. And in those industrial categories, that was a 133% increase from 2022 in those number of appeals. So you can see how those property valuations make those valuation appeals continuously increase. Are there any questions? Okay. So with those increase in those property appeals from those valuations, we have also seen an increase in the lawsuits filed in district court. So as of December 31st, there were 242 cases filed in 2023. And as you can see, there's several that have been resolved, and there's several that are still pending. It's important to note on this graph that in the resolved category, like in 2023, they had 217 cases resolved, but those cases could have been filed 4 or 5 years ago. It takes time for those lawsuits to get settled. And as of December 31st, we had 286 lawsuits that were still pending to be resolved. And then another important thing to mention on these is one lawsuit can include up to 400 different properties. But as you can see, with the increase in valuations, there's also been an increase in those lawsuits filed. Are there any questions?
Is that just lawsuits, or does that include arbitrations?
I believe that is just lawsuit. They
Okay,
separated
so
that out for us.
That's properties over 5 million. The under 5 million are others.
I would have to confirm, but
Okay.
I believe so. Any other questions? Okay, that concludes our property tax presentation.
All right, thank you very much. That's going to inform our next portion of the workshop. So we appreciate the deep dive. I know that we've had some questions going back, and I think this might be one of those presentations that we want to bookmark, keep handy, PDF those pages into your files, whatever you need to do, so when we have these discussions, we can refer back to this one on a regular basis. Mr. Garcia, take us through our FY25 preliminary budget update.
Yes, so good afternoon, Madam Chair, Mr. President, and members of the board. So this is the first of many budget conversations with the goal of delivering a budget plan recommendation at the August board meeting. The college is currently at the midpoint of the budget plan, whereby budget requests have been submitted by the executive team to the executive team for their review. What will follow is a process of narrowing the gap between the budget request and financial resources in order that best supports the college's strategic plan. Today's slide deck includes preliminary estimates of revenues and expenses, and the college will deliver a more comprehensive budget plan at our workshop plan for July 26. Dr. West will now kick off the presentation.
Good afternoon, Regents, Madam Chair. We are starting our budget presentation with the news that we received the Distinguished Budget Award from the GFOA for our 2024 report. We are very proud of receiving this award, and I would also like to recognize the groups that collaborate with the budget team to help us to prepare this award. It is definitely a team effort, and that is Dr. Saumby's group that helps us with the departmental unit assessments that report on the department's initiatives and goals for the strategic plan. Lenora Keys's group, institutional research, that gives us all the data and statistics. And then Ms. Tammy McDonald's group, human resources, who gives us all the employment, budget, payroll, number of positions. I do want to say that because Del Mar College prepares all three of these reports, the annual financial report, the popular annual financial report coming out of Jeff's group, and now the budget award, we qualify to receive the Triple Crown Award from the GFOA. And Del Mar College is the only community college in Texas that receives the award currently. So we are very proud of that. So now here, this slide shows you the budget process overview, and we are in phase 3, which is review and recommendations. And then you see the rest of the majority of the planning goes through July and August for y'all's guidance and recommendations and final approvals. Just really quick here, the calendar. I know you guys have seen this before, but this gives you the highlights of what's coming up in June and July and August, where we present to y'all our findings and progress on the budget. And now I'm going to turn the presentation over to Jackie Landrum.
Thank you, Dr. West. So for tuition and fees, we have included that $2 in-district tuition rate increase that was approved back in February, and then we've evaluated our levels of enrollment. So for this fiscal year, we did project a 4% increase in our enrollment. However, in spring, we saw a 2.8% increase, and we're still waiting on those final summer enrollment numbers to really compare our total increase in enrollment to that 4% that we projected. So that may change. It's just being very conservative right now. For property tax, we did evaluate the overall property tax rate, as we discussed earlier, and as we discussed in our earlier presentation, we typically use that 3 to 4% on our valuation growth. However, we've had some discussions with the appraisal district. We've reviewed those preliminary property valuations, and those are coming in a little bit lower this year. And as Mr. Johnson had said, part of the reason for the decrease in the property valuation is due to that new law that they're calling a circuit breaker. And that circuit breaker went into effect January 1st of this year and will be in effect for 3 years. And the circuit breaker applies to any real property that is not a homestead and has a value less than $5 million. If that property meets that criteria, then there is a 20% cap on the increase in the taxable property value from 1 year to the next. So in our discussions with the appraisal district, right now that's about a $400 million valuation decrease just due to that circuit breaker. And then we're also seeing that decrease due to that lawsuit that was settled. So for these reasons, and right now we are assuming a 2% net valuation growth in our estimate. For the new construction, with recent conversations with our appraisal districts, sales in the market have slowed compared to last year, and they were able to provide us with an estimate, which is $413 million in taxable value. So we are using a $400 million value for our new construction in our estimate. And then with the continuing industrial lawsuits, we have made adjustments to our projected property revenue budget for the increased value that they're protesting. So for state appropriations, we really won't know what that's going to be until probably June or July. We did receive some preliminary numbers from the coordinating board for fiscal year 2025 based on their new methodology for forecasting outcomes. So originally they were using 3 years worth of data, and they were using the higher of the average of the 3 years or the prior year. So in this new methodology, they're looking at using 6 years worth of data. So they're going to look at fiscal year 2018 through 2023 for those traditional credential outcomes, and fiscal year 2020 through 2023 for those occupational skills awards. However, the method has not been approved yet, and it will be reviewed at the coordinating board's quarterly meeting in July. So for fast appropriations, we are basing our estimate based off of what we received in fall of 2023 and what we're expecting in spring of 2024, and we did include a 4% increase for our dual enrollment. Are there any questions on this slide?
I have a question about the
Yes,
state
ma'am.
appropriations piece.
Yes.
So how does the settle-up process work? If we're basing it on 6-year averages or the previous year, whichever is greater, then what happens if we don't meet that estimate or we've overperform or underperform?
Yeah, if we overperform, then the dollars come to us at that point. If they underperform, the dollars there's a last payment out there that they will subtract from. And so they're basically holding money anyway for previous performance or performance prior to the underperformance. And so at some point or another, we're always in arrears. So it's kind of like a check being in arrears, and they'll hold it for us. And so the settle up is, we're waiting to see how that actually looks and how it actually works. But that's the basis.
But we'll budget based on that assumption, and then we'll be able to look at the end of the years, the budget versus actual, did we underperform or overperform based on that?
Our average is what keeps us kind of steady as we're watching it, and then so the anomalies outside of that is mitigated of sorts to at that tail end. And like I said, we typically owe the state there's been other forms of that situation. It's an advanced form of the way the state pays us out, and that we always owe the state some money.
Yes, and my understanding is it's fiscal year '26 before they're going to really start settling up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew we had some time to settle into this new program. So.
Yeah, my little way of describing it right now is because we haven't been through it, and so stay tuned. We are all anxiously awaiting that.
Yes.
Any other questions for Jackie?
Okay. So for our preliminary budget for fiscal year 2025, with our recent numbers that we got from the coordinating board, we are projecting a decrease of about $191,000 in our performance funding. Adding the 4% for our dual enrollment for that increase, we're looking at about $45,000. And then with the tuition and fees, with that $2 increase in our in-district tuition rate, and then adjusting our revenue budget to be more in line with our current enrollment, we are currently projecting about a $510,000 decrease. But then again, like I said, we don't have summer enrollment numbers yet, so that may change as we move through the process once we get those final numbers. With the property taxes, with the 2% valuation growth and that $400 million for the new construction, right now we're estimating about $6.5 million increase, resulting in an overall increase in our preliminary revenue budget for fiscal year 2025 of $5.8 million.
Just really quickly, Jackie, if I may, when we gathered up and had the budget meeting to discuss this presentation, the 191. It was debated whether to, the degree of the accuracy or efficacy at this point. It's an estimation. It's a very conservative estimate. Yes. And we said, let's leave it in because we'd rather start there than go for it. There are scenarios where that number is mitigated to the positive. That's kind of a contradiction. But anyway, to the positive anyway. The degree of the effect is mitigated. My point with this is that this is the example that we were talking about earlier in rules making, that there are lots of programs that are, at this point, we feel that even though as hard as we worked with HB8, that it's just going to take time to level out these state appropriations with money we believe we're currently earning, points that we're currently owning, but we're just not getting funded yet. And so this is why I have to stay very closely in tune and in touch with what goes on at the state, and I'm very privileged to do so. But I just want you all to know that number right there is a very conservative number, and even the budget team doesn't know the numbers that are coming in. Patricia handed me some numbers that are looking very, very good for summer one already at this early period. So stay tuned. So I applaud you all for doing that. I just want to caution everybody. We're just being very, very cautious with these numbers.
We're still very early in the process. Any other questions? Okay, so for our preliminary expenses, since we're so early in the process and we're still gathering and analyzing all that data, everything is still pretty much to be determined. Salary and benefit increases, we'll decide that at a later date. And then our other maintenance and operation expenses are the same. We kind of just going through the data just to pinpoint some things that we may need to look at adding additional funds to. So under Expand Programs of Excellence, we've had a huge interest in our new Bachelor of Applied Science Organizational Management and Leadership program, which Dr. Schrammick is going to come up and discuss more with you.
Good afternoon. I'm happy to provide you some updates since our last meeting. If you might remember in the last meeting, Dr. Escamilla mentioned that we had just received approval from SACS and the co-board to begin to offer the program. So on April 23rd, we were able to publish a web page for the Bachelors of Applied Science in Organizational Management and Leadership. And at that time, we were able to include an application form for students to apply into the program because there are certain prerequisites they have to meet to be accepted into the program. So that was 3 weeks ago since we posted that web page. Since that time, 265 people have applied, indicating their interest in the program. And Regents got in my head, I hear her talking about buckets of students. And so I want to talk to you about buckets of students for a moment. So we began screening through the 265 students to see where they were with their education and where they were in terms of being ready to roll into that program. So 55 of those students have completed all their requirements to be ready to go into the program right now. And so we've reached out to them. We've sent them welcome emails saying, great, you're ready to go into the program. Please contact us to set up an advising appointment. We've already had 22 of those students set their advising appointments, and we're following up with the others to make sure that they get their time with their advisor to get registered for the fall as well. Now, that was 55 out of 265. So 210 of the students are missing some requirements. Some things might be that they've already graduated with their Associate of Applied Science degree. They just need to do a new Apply Texas application. Some of them may have some type of hold that requires them to reach out to the registrar's office to clear that hold before we can push them through. Some of them are a little bit early in the process where they haven't completed the technical requirements for the degree. So we need for them to finish off that piece, and then they can move forward with the bachelor's component. So we have different email templates in review right now that we're sending different students emails based on where they are in the process, explaining what their next steps are. And so we feel good about those 265, that they're all in the pipeline and they're all getting attended to at this point. Now, as of about noon today, a new email blast went out from College Relations to 3,000 students who completed their Associate of Applied Science degrees within the last 5 years. And so we are expecting another windfall of applications into the form saying that they're interested in, and we'll follow through with them now that we have a good process established for that. Some additional work going on behind the scenes, just to let you know, we have hired, or we've gone through the hiring process for some adjuncts with very specialized skills, things like business law, finance, and operations management for certain classes that are very specialized. The fall online courses are starting to be built using open educational resources to keep the costs down for students. And we're planning to have those courses go under a course review with e-learning to make sure that the quality is very high for those programs starting July 1st. The online catalog is being updated to include the BASS OML offerings and educational plan. And then just as someone had mentioned earlier, this is very much a collaborative effort from people all across the college. It's taking IT and college relations and the registrar's office, the admissions office, financial aid, the curriculum manager, and the Department of Business Administration to pull all these pieces together. But we are on a good path for fall of '24, and we're hoping to see great enrollment, both in the BASS OML major courses, but also in our core subjects as well, because if you'll remember from the educational plan, those students that enter the path have to have their technical courses, they have to complete core, and then the BASS major courses as well. And are there any questions that you have at this point?
No questions, just congratulations. That sounds fabulous. Very exciting. Very exciting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shermick.
Before we go, we'll have a full formal rollout of that program, probably in the early fall, as it kicks off, certainly with some really specified, concentrated time with that. So stay tuned. We just want to whet your appetite a little bit with that. Thanks.
Thank you. So another area under the expand programs of excellence that we're seeing requested increase is those instructional equipment for our programs. And then under optimize the Viking student experience, we may need to add some additional funds to marketing to enhance our community engagement and create an ideal new student experience, which Mr. Olson's going to discuss more in his next presentation. So other areas that we're seeing that may need additional funds is our DMC police, maintenance, the deferred maintenance, custodial, ground maintenance, and then our election expense, since next year is an election year. Are there any questions on this slide? Okay. So for our preliminary expense budget for fiscal year 2025, right now we are showing to be decided on everything, since it's just so early in the process that we really can't give you accurate information on resource allocation. And that concludes our presentation.
Thank
any
you so
questions?
much. I appreciate you tying the initiative so far to the strategic plan. I know it's not adopted yet, but I think seeing that thread as it works through the budget process is very helpful for us.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We are definitely thinking about it and trying to already tie it to it, so.
Any other questions or comments from board members? Thank you. Thank you all
Thank
for that
you.
work. All right. The next couple of presentations are tied together to start talking about our strategic enrollment management plan and then following up with the marketing plan. So we'll start with Dr. Patricia Benavides Dominguez.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Madam Chair, Dr. Escamilla, Regents. Today I'll be providing to you an update to our strategic enrollment management plan. As you know, there have been several challenges that we have experienced with enrollment. We have identified those as fluctuating enrollment, increased competition and post-pandemic recovery, increasing student priorities are shifting, and they're weighing the cost of their education versus employment opportunities in a thriving South Texas economy. Developing a strategic enrollment management plan for the college provides a strategic, effective strategy for addressing the challenges and dynamics that have affected enrollment over the past decade. It presents and analyzes the data that informed the development of the goals, objectives, and action steps and measured outcomes that will support its execution. It serves as an actionable roadmap to improve enrollment and retention, services, quality, competitiveness, with ongoing quality assurance monitoring to ensure efficiency, effectiveness, and goal attainment. Our strategic enrollment management plan will enable us to fulfill our mission and position students to achieve their goals through the 6 bullet points that you see up there. For example, promoting student academic success by improving access, transition, persistence, and graduation. The timeline depicts the key events that took place during the SEM plan engagement. The SEM plan was created through an inclusive collaborative process that invited students, faculty, and staff to contribute their perspective and insights. The engagement started in July of 23. Campus Works conducted a series of focus groups, interviews, workshops with all key stakeholders. This is a cross-department representation of the stakeholders involved in SEM planning. As illustrated, the Strategic Enrollment Management Plan spans the entire student life cycle, from marketing, recruitment, admissions, through degree, credential completion, and beyond. While strategic enrollment management has typically been associated with the initial student enrollment, it is much more comprehensive than that. And the SEM focuses on the entire student journey from prospect to alumni as the student experience, and includes the student experience both in and outside of the classroom. The SEM goals for 24-25, the star of the show here. As you can see, these goals will be supported by corresponding objectives, action plans, along with a roadmap guiding the college through implementation. We are committed to providing a holistic experience to respond more to an evolving student's needs and demands. Goal 1, recruitment and marketing. It's about providing educational access, collaboration with all departments across the college to make those student connections. Goal 1. These five supporting objectives that you see here As you can see, there's various stakeholders across the college that will be collaborating together to make these objectives come to fruition. So you can see, for one, collect 100 new student inquiries. We'll be working with college relations through that. That is just one example. SEM 1, Goal 1, Quarter 1. Right now, we are in Quarter 1, and we're also simultaneously probably working on Quarter 2. And Goal 1 will focus on the activities that you see here. What is our plan to increase the number of students? The 8 points that you see here are all action items that we are currently working or implementing. These are just 8 of 20 that we have already developed in the SIM plan. For example, college relation receives an RFI. An RFI stands for Request for Information Inquiry. Those RFIs are funneled to the Student Enrollment Center, and outreach is done. The outreach is being conducted by CRO and in cooperation with the Student Enrollment Center. Now, I will turn over to my colleague, Cheryl Sanders, Associate Vice President.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Regents, Dr. Escamilla. Goal 2 is focused on student onboarding. This was developed to create a seamless student experience in the onboarding process, including enrollment, advising, and registration. This slide is an overview of Goal 2 supporting objectives. We're implementing a structured action plan to achieve the outline objectives to ensure each goal is met effectively and efficiently, focused on process mapping, enhanced marketing efforts, customer relation management customization, advancing communication, improving new student orientation, and focused academic advisor allocation. The current Goal 2 focus and action is on increasing completed admissions applications by capitalizing on Discover Del Mar opportunities and including increased faculty participation in Viking Fun Day. Additionally, not on this slide, is that we're working closely with college relations, developing cross-departmental workflows to streamline the student onboarding experience. Goal 3 is focused on retention and persistence. This was developed to foster a campus experience that enhances community connections and builds a strong affinity with the college. Through this, we aim to increase affordability, persistence, graduation, and transfer rates. This slide is an overview of Goal 3 supporting objectives. Our action plan is aimed at improving faculty engagement, revising success plans, rebranding the early alert system, and enhancing retention and graduation rates through data sharing and faculty staff training, adjusting strategies based on what the data shows is working and what's not working. Current Goal 3 focus and action are outreach and retention and completion data sharing. Through this, everyone will have the capacity and opportunity to contribute to how we can make our data look different and how we can improve our capacity to serve students. This will also increase the visibility of our current work, improve efficiency, and foster collaboration within our campus community. The implementation phase, our current phase, stands as the final stage within the strategic enrollment management planning cycle. It signifies a crucial transition from strategic planning to the tangible execution of those plans. This slide provides an overview of our focus with regard to people, process, and technology, spanning from charging the SEM committee to revising admissions funnel processes to providing appropriate customer relationship management system access to faculty and staff. This is an implementation team. Strategic enrollment management planning governance plays an indispensable role, ensuring that the execution of strategies is not only aligned with the overarching goals and objectives, but also adaptable to the dynamic nature of the DMC environment. This involves a deliberate process of guiding, monitoring, and adjusting the implementation of strategic initiatives to meet the targeted enrollment outcomes effectively. In conclusion, The Strategic Enrollment Management Plan is designed to be a living, breathing document that will adjust and change as the internal and external environments change, and to be in continuous alignment with the college initiatives that are currently in process or projected, such as ongoing efforts in the development of the Del Mar College Strategic Plan, the Customer Relationship Management and Enterprise Resource Planning implementations. Objectives, action steps, and measurable outcomes may be adjusted over time upon the recommendation of the Executive Cabinet and the Strategic Enrollment Management Plan Committee. That concludes our presentation. Do we have any questions?
I have a question, probably more for maybe Dr. Escamilla and Dr. Villarreal. The connection between the information embedded, and I know you just gave us an overview. This is not the detailed, meaty part of it, but what's the correlation and connection between this and our strategic plan and the KPIs specifically around the strategic plan?
I'm going to be smart and give the microphone to Natalie on that one. I can probably say something that sounds good, but I don't feel as strongly as she probably does.
Thank you, Dr. Escamilla. Because I've been able to be a part of the committee as well, and we've looked specifically at the KPIs, so you're going to see KPIs across the board in the marketing plan, the enrollment management plan, and the strategic plan, so that we're all doing the exact same thing and supporting each other. So you're going to see a lot of crossover, although, of course, with the strategic plan, you're going to see some bigger overarching KPIs that is going to oversee all of the data coming from the SCM.
And if you notice, my name was not on that list, so that's exactly right. Thank you, Dr. Villarreal.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from our board members? Thank you all for that great work. It's great information. We appreciate it. Mr. Olson, let's talk about our marketing plan.
Good afternoon. Thank you. If this plan, the strategic marketing plan, sounds a lot like the strategic enrollment management plan, it's actually because they were designed that way on purpose. This is a really kind of special moment at Del Mar. We've got all these plans coming together, like Dr. Villarreal was saying. We've got the strategic marketing plan designed to fit hand in glove and support the goals within the SEM plan, and both of them working to support the strategic plan. So we've kind of locked arms, we're getting our teams ready, everything in preparation to really go forward with all three plans at the same time. So it is an exciting moment. About the strategic marketing plan, we have an agency of record, Anderson Marketing Group. We asked them to come out and interview our stakeholders, talk to people, partners, survey the landscape, kind of figure out what the opportunities were, and give us some foundational information to work from as we developed the plan. And then the College Relations Office really rolled up our sleeves, looked at what the opportunities were, and developed this plan in concert with the Strategic Enrollment Management Plan. What we came to see very quickly is that there were three goals that really made a lot of sense. And when I talk about three goals, those are for the next 2 years. We don't want to go a lot further than 2 years because we're going to have an even bigger layer that comes at that point. These are the ones that we're going to try to accomplish through fall 2025. So let me advance it to the three goals. The first one is drive record enrollments. And this one is important because we're doing a lot of talking about outcomes, right? What are all the outcomes? What are the credentials of value in line with HB8? For every one of those outcomes, we've got to have another enrollment, or hopefully 2 or 3 enrollments, to keep feeding that funnel so we produce more outcomes every year. So driving enrollments is as important as ever. So that's goal number 1. Goal number 2, we want to elevate the experience for students. When students raise their hand and say they're interested, we want to make sure that we get them all the way to the finish line of getting registered and then further all the way to graduation. We have to make sure we remove all the barriers, and I'm going to get into how we're going to do that so we don't leave any student underserved. And then third, we have to start communicating our success much better through our outcomes. There's no better marketing tool than the successful outcomes of our students who are out there who have earned credentials. And so you're going to see how we're going to start to leverage those in new ways as a part of this plan. So getting back to goal number 1, what we're going to do is we're going to increase our student populations across the board by implementing a comprehensive enrollment marketing strategy that's going to be a model for community colleges around the nation. And I don't say that lightly. I really truly believe that we can be a model for all other community colleges because we have all these plans coming together at once. Because in our 90-year history, we've never used a platform for automated marketing and messaging. We've never had a CRM. All of these are huge advantages that are going to allow us to restructure our efforts and our resources and leapfrog ahead if we follow this plan, which we're going to. So how are we going to get there? We've got 10 objectives that are going to help us get there. And each one of these objectives is going to be supported in the full plan with tactics, with opportunities, with KPIs. And over the summer, we're going to finish filling all of that in, and we're going to end up with about a 30 to 40-page document that's going to have a lot of details. And later, I'm going to ask Jason Houlihan to come up and just give a kind of sample of some of those details that you'll see in the plan. But objective one is restructuring college relations. On the marketing side, we've actually already achieved this. We're going to be bringing in a new customer relationship management platform. That means we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. That means that we're going to be focusing not just on getting our name out there, but on the digital journey that a student takes when they start interfacing with us until they're a registered student here. So we've made changes. We've actually made a new position, a user experience manager who's in charge of that journey. And so we're kind of reallocating our resources for that. What we also are going to do is we're going to implement that new CRM, not just across marketing, but across all the prospective student-facing departments. So we talked about locking arms. We're working closely with areas like admissions. We're going to be working with the registrar's office, financial aid, all the areas that are a part of that journey to make sure that the CRM is a smooth kind of experience for students. We're also adding, and you may have seen this job posted just a few days ago, a marketing outreach specialist. This is something we haven't done before. When somebody tells us they're interested, we're going to have somebody within weeks, hopefully, who can call that person on the same day, ask them what they're interested in, and tell them what they can expect, how they're going to get through the checklist. What are all the credentials that'll get them to their dream ultimately? And that's a part of this plan as well. I'm jumping ahead a bit, but credential mapping. We've already started this, but by next fall, we want to have made our way through almost all of the different pathways of credentials, starting with the Skills Award, maybe working your way through certificates to an associate's degree, maybe going for the BAS degree, and then maybe going off to one of our friends down the road for a master's degree after that. But when somebody tells us what they want to accomplish, we want to show them a comprehensive map of what their future could look like with on-ramps and off-ramps where they could pause or come back or where they could enter. So it's pretty exciting. We're also going to redesign our website. This is an important one, and this is a pretty large undertaking. But we have a lot of great information on our website. But what we really need to do is make sure that it's the best marketing tool that it can be, because no matter how much marketing we do and bringing in people through the work that we do with the CRM, many students are still going to find us by looking at our website, and when they get on there, we need to make sure that that journey is very smooth. So we'll be working on that in the coming years. We're also going to develop automated communication flows with each of the different programs in different pathways, and this is kind of a big deal. You heard Dr. Schrammick talking about what's going on with the BAS. That's what enrollment marketing is all about. Right now, we've done a great job telling everybody who Del Mar is. But when somebody goes to Google a specific program that they're interested in, we need to hit them, serve them with individual advertisements that give them only the details they really need in that moment. And with the BAS, that's a perfect example of what enrollment marketing is. You heard her say we sent out a targeted email that we got through data to 3,000 students from the 55 stackable AAS degrees that stack into the BAS. And within an hour, we knew that 700 of them had opened it, and we knew that 64 of those had clicked on a link to take them to the portal to express interest and apply in it. That's the kind of data that we need, and that's the kind of marketing we're going to be doing. That's the biggest change in the marketing we're going to be doing. And when we have that for every program and pathway, it's not going to be guesswork anymore. We're going to have a really good idea of what's working and what's not. So it's very exciting. We're also going to create a strategic marketing approach with dual enrollment. we're really getting into this with Dr. Rivera and that group as far as weekly meetings to figure out what are all the opportunities that are out there for dual enrollment, to create new events, to equip them with the students with the marketing materials they need, to get in front of them at every turn. And so that's going to be something that's going to be ongoing, that weekly or biweekly meeting with their group. We're also launching a new brand campaign. Within 30 days, you're going to start seeing some of the collateral for that, and it's going to tap back in to the Dreams campaigning that we had done in the past. When I first got here, like any new marketing guy, I thought, let's do something totally new. You know, I want to do something and make my mark with the new campaign. And then we started listening, and what we realized was how much equity had been built up in this concept of dreams and how authentically it aligned with Del Mar's brand. People really do achieve their dreams in ways that they didn't expect through Del Mar. And if you ask any big group of people what the Del Mar motto is, or tagline, they all scream out "dreams delivered." So we want to tap back into that. We put a lot of time and a lot of money and resources into that. So it's not going to be the same exact tagline, but it is going to tap back into that a little bit. We're also going to gather and leverage successful outcomes as a major part of campaign strategy. And just today, I got some commencement stories that were pretty exciting that are perfect examples of this. The college's 45th Regional Fire Academy, including 27 cadets from the Corpus Christi Fire Department and 2 from Kingsville Fire Department, achieved a 100% pass rate of the Texas Commission on Fire Protective Basic Structure fire examination on their first attempt. I mean, that story tells a lot about our successful outcomes, right? And would make people have a lot of confidence in that program. There's another story about Maylin Vasquez, who's the Carroll High School valedictorian and a DMC dual credit participant. She's going to Texas A&M in College Station, and she has her sights set on majoring in architecture. To prepare for that, she has taken 7 DMC dual credit courses in construction and will graduate with 18 hours on her transcript, earning a 97 and 98 in 2 classes and hundreds in the other 5. Maylin was asked what advice she would share with her peers, and she said, take as many, in all caps, classes offered by Del Mar that progress you towards your major as you can, mentally and physically handle. I mean, those are the kinds of advertisements we need out there that do a whole lot more than the marketing team alone can do. So we're going to tell those personal stories. We're going to solicit that in social media. I'll get into that in the communications section. But it's going to be all about outcomes marketing, essentially.
I'm just going to add one story to you. I had a graduate of UT Austin's mother tell me how thankful she is to Del Mar College for her daughter graduating from UT Austin in 3 years rather than 4. And
that's amazing. Saves a lot of money.
There's successful outcomes that aren't directly related to the student, but to the family pocketbook.
Sure, and marketing to parents is extremely important.
I could add 10 more. I'm going to spare you, but I can add 10 more to that.
I heard from one where I guess we sent them to UT with 63 hours already, so.
Yeah, it's amazing. See, it does the talking for us when we put those stories out there.
Yeah.
So the timeline's really aggressive. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but we're already well underway with the CRM. We've restructured the marketing team already. We have a new campaign launching, the partnership with dual enrollment. The call center position has been posted, but we really need to dive into slicing and dicing all of the data. We have amazing data here, and you've probably seen it in some of the strategic materials we put out, statistical analyses that are just incredible, and we need to take full advantage of that to reach new segments. So we're excited about getting into that in the spring. And then we're going to get into program-specific marketing that I was talking about and redoing the website in the fall of '25. So we're well on our way in those areas. I'm not going to go through these details, but you can see that goal number 1 of the strategic marketing plan was intentionally designed to support all of those objectives in the strategic enrollment management plan. Every single one of those will be impacted by the things within goal number 1 of the marketing plan. So SMP goal number 2, this is one I'm really excited about. The student journey from prospect to register student is going to be consistent and engaging for all students, inspiring a deep sense of pride in becoming a Viking. If we can make people really fall in love with Del Mar while they're being onboarded, then they're much more likely to retain and to tell other people to come and join in the journey, right? And this is the opportunity to do that. And so what we're going to do first is we're going to assess the current student journey. And we've already begun this, creating the student journey map. There's been a number of participants. Dr. Villarreal and I have facilitated 2 workshops with faculty advisors, to talk about that student journey. What are we doing right? What are some opportunities we could be doing better? What are they seeing on the front lines when students come in and talk to them? And we're gathering all that foundational information. We're going to be doing it again on July 12th at the plenary session of the Faculty Summer Academy, where there's going to be about 100 faculty members. We'll get all that information, and then at the end of July, we're doing a 2-day workshop where everyone from the prospective student journey, anybody who's handling intake of students, whether you're in the registrar's office or on the marketing team or in admissions, will be gathered in one space, and we're bringing an outside facilitator who's an expert on this to come in and say on day one, okay, what are all the different ways that students come into Del Mar, and what are all the paths they take, and where are all the barriers? And then day 2, we dream of what the ideal map looks like. And then over the coming fall semester, we implement that across all the departments that are front-facing. So that's objectives 1 through 3, essentially, but we also have to make sure that that lines up with the CRM and the automation. So big opportunity we can't afford to miss here over the fall semester. And then we're going to collaborate across all the different divisions to create really compelling events. We partner with different areas on these Saturday events for new students. Once we have this journey aligned, we're going to be able to really gauge interest in those events, see which ones are working and which aren't, which we can get RSVPs for. It's really going to be exciting. So we're working on those. We're also creating a new signature event you'll hear about soon, Viking Fest. We're very excited about it. It's going to really gather the community but show prospective students what being part of the Viking family is really like. We're also going to create weekly guided tours that are easy to sign up for online. If you want to know what it's like here at DMC, you should be able to jump on a portal on the website and come that week and get a student guided tour, from one of our best advocates. So that's in the plan here. We're also going to work with academic programs to deliver info sessions. Whether these are online or in person, if you're interested in welding and we have a group within our CRM in the funnel of 20 people interested, we're going to set up an info session where a faculty member can tell them about it either online or they can come in and see a demonstration. But eventually we're going to do this for all of our programs, right? Then we're going to also develop something called the Viking Vanguard. Now, this is something that's really cool. We're going to get students that really exemplify what it means to be a Viking, and they're going to help us out with these tours. They're going to help us out with social media. They're going to speak at events. They're really going to be the most inspiring advocates for DMC. And that program, already all the qualifications have been written up and all the processes in place, and that's going to be starting up very soon. We're also going to collaborate with other divisions who are already doing a great job bringing people here, high school students on campus, to give them more support from CRO to make sure that the experience is really robust, because we're already doing a lot of things really well. So we're going to try to amp up all of those activities. And then lastly, partner with dual enrollment to create the most engaging experience possible when visiting the high schools. This ties back a little bit to goal number 1, but we want to have kind of an unparalleled experience when we're talking to kids that are out there in junior high and high school. I should say junior high as well in there, but in the ISDs. And the timeline for all of this, in the fall, we're going to be implementing that new student journey map, and along with the CRM, and that should all be completed in the fall. And then by the spring, we'll have those new tours, we'll have those different visits and events and the Viking Vanguard in place. And then we'll get to that program-specific marketing driving to those info sessions by the fall of 25. So we're gonna get a lot more specific with our data and information as we move forward. And you can see here, SMP goal number 2 really supports SEM goal number 2 in a number of ways, and that's because we participated so closely together across divisions in the planning of that. And then goal number 3 is communicating with our outcomes. We're going to strengthen our brand and reputation by reaching new audiences and populations and telling them our story through the outcomes we produce. It doesn't sound like rocket science, but we need to really focus on putting our resources behind getting that story out there. And so, like we did in marketing, in September, we're going to restructure the communications department, which I'm pretty excited about, to really accomplish all these objectives. We're going to put a brand health survey out there. We need to know how well we're doing to see if we are making any progress with these new efforts. So not only are we going to immediately do a brand health survey to find out where our position is, but we're going to repeat it every 2 years, possibly every year, but we're going to start with every 2 years just to see that we're being effective. We're going to inventory all of our different alumni and student channels so that there's a lot of them if you look out there, a lot of unofficial alumni channels, or maybe different LinkedIn groups or social media platforms that were abandoned over the years, but there's still many people attached to Del Mar there. And we're going to bring all those together and make a concerted effort to get all of these outcomes, all these stories in front of them regularly. So what we're essentially going to be doing is starting a whole new alumni communication concentration. Not alumni relations, just getting the message out there to them and creating more advocates and doing the same thing with our existing students. We're also going to do a media campaign. One of our biggest differentiators here at Del Mar is that our talent stays local, right? We produce results that really change the coastal bend for the better. So we're going to pitch to all the different media outlets regular stories, focusing on businesses and parts of the community where our graduates have gone and been hired, and they're making a big difference. It makes the businesses and organizations look great. It helps promote our students and outcomes all at the same time. So that's one way we're going to leverage the media. We're also going to get really into podcasts, and this is an area that I have a lot of background in. We're going to introduce podcasts that connect us with donors, with different organizations and alumni. If we want to get into a conversation about dual enrollment with ISDs, we can host a podcast about that. If somebody gives in a way that really helps our students, well, we can get them in so that might inspire other people to do the same. So you can look for that starting this summer. We already have a lot of that underway. And then we'd also like to develop some new board communication strategies that we'll be bringing to you that really highlight the work that's done in this room and promotes a lot of transparency, because a lot of good is done in this room, and Del Mar's doing so much for the community. I think we can do some things to really get that message out there more. And then lastly, a new video annual report. We see a lot of paper annual reports. It's what we're mostly used to. But if we're going to be talking about outcomes and hearing from students and soliciting these stories, why not use those firsthand stories to tell our local constituents, but also in Austin, how excited we are about HB8 and how we're really kind of shifting everything to be in line with it. So we're going to be working on that, and that won't come probably until fall of '25. But we're going to be doing that restructure in September. The brand health survey will launch right away, media campaign, and some local events that were on the last slide. We're going to really leverage some of the big local events that happen to really showcase outcomes as well. Alumni communications, a corporate campaign, student communications and podcasts in the spring. And then fall of '25, we'll be working towards that board video and the annual report, which will be a video as well. So somewhat aggressive timelines, but that's the meat of what we're going to be working on. I'd like to get into a little bit of detail, but in a way kind of work in a recognition now as well. I'd like to ask Jason Houlihan to come up and join me. I think he's here. There's Jason. Jason's been integral to all the changes we've been making in CRO. You must most likely know his work from the great TV commercials that you've seen, or from the billboards, digital ads, and social media that the college produces. Many people around town also know Jason from his deep level of involvement in leadership Corpus Christi. He's a great champion for us here at DMC, but also an advocate for us out in the community. And moving forward, I've asked Jason to take point on enrollment marketing as our new executive director of marketing and events. So we're very excited to have Jason in that position. And he's going to help us ensure that every prospective student has an exceptional experience from the moment they express interest to the moment they step on campus for the first time. Jason's going to dive a little bit deeper into some of the data today and give you an idea of the kind of metrics and tactics that are going to support the objectives in the strategic marketing plan. Jason.
So I'm not going to go too deep into the data, but I kind of want to hit on some personas and some different things so you kind of understand the why. Because to me, the most important is why are we doing any of these things? Why did we decide to pick on these particular subjects? So one of the personas that we have here is Amanda, a credit student. Since most of our credit students are 20 to 24, she's 20 to 24. She's female because most of our students are female, about 58%. Hispanic, 71% of our credit students are Hispanic. Most of our students live in Nueces County. You kind of get the rhythm, the feel of this. So every time that we have a marketing tactic, we usually tie a persona to that. And that's the most generalized student that we have. And I know the intent of that is for us to visualize and deeply know who we're marketing to. Who do we already have? And then it may go deeper, right? A BAS student may look a little bit different than Amanda. A student who's interested in welding may be a little bit different than Amanda. So as we kind of go, we're going to develop personas like the one we have for Amanda. And then Maria really looks a lot like Amanda in continuing education. That was surprising to me. So most of our continuing education students look a lot like our credit students. So that's kind of what a persona is highlighting. So every time Jeff or I come up with these marketing tactics with the agency, we like to develop a persona just like these that shapes and colors what we do. What I'm really passionate about, what I love is we started talking about continuing education and dual credit from the moment Jeff got here because they're already our students. And I think it's something that we absolutely need to do a better job of leveraging and connecting them to whatever meaningful credential of value that they want. So if they start in continuing education, we want to get them stackable credentials all the way to getting a BAS or at least an associate's degree. I mean, we want to work them into that. And so we've been talking to Dr. Leonard and Rachel about how can we do a better job of communicating with those students that they're already Del Mar College students and that their path forward to getting whatever they want already exists. A quarter of our students on average are dual credit or dual enrollment. So it's a great, massive audience that we need to work towards getting and moving into our other programs when they're 18 plus and graduate from high school. We typo here. I dream that one day we'll have 24,000. So my apologies, typo. It's right around 9,000. So for the past 5 years, it's averaged right under 9,000 students. The last couple of years, it's been over 9,000. And again, those are our students. So we're hitting on that because we are still gonna go out and look for new students, but why aren't we doing a better job of reaching these students? So we wanna make more of a concerted and focused effort on that. Another thing that we kind of picked on from the institutional research data was 90% of our students already have some college. They come here for whatever reason, they have some college, they stopped and they're coming back. We don't know all of their story, but some tactics that we're building around this are like milestones. Celebrating 15 hours, celebrating 30 hours, 45 and 60 and getting an associate's degree so that they know that along the way, like we're cheering for them, that we're rooting for them, and that we want to make sure that they get to wherever they want to be as a student. And it's such a massive population of our credit students that we don't want to leave them without an associate's degree or bachelor's degree. And then the last pocket that we kind of hit on was most of our students, again, are part-time and increasingly online. So what kind of tactics around that? Well, flexible scheduling, trying to make sure that we have classes that kind of work with their life. A lot of our students are working, have families, and so making sure that we have schedules that accommodate that. Sometimes a 9 a.m. class doesn't quite work if you're a mom or a dad dropping your kids off. Sometimes a 5 o'clock class also probably won't work because you're picking them up from sports and activities. So just being a little more deliberate on what we're doing and trying to meet the students where they are. The other kind of things we talked about were working on developing some virtual support services. So if they can't come onto our campus, they still have access to everything. For the most part, that's already the case, but there might be a few gaps here and there to fill. And then building some virtual events so that they feel connected to the community as well. So those are the main pockets that I have. Any questions on any of that? Passing it back off to Jeff.
Thanks, Jason.
I mean, looking at that kind of information, we are really going to build the best data-driven enrollment marketing strategy possible, and we're really excited about diving into that more and more and more and getting more information. But moving forward over the summer, we're gathering all that information and informing all those different objectives, and then we're also going to restructure the communication department, and then these are the objectives we're going to be reporting to you on over the coming years. We'll tell you when we've checked off some of these boxes moving forward. But that's, in essence, what we're going to be up to for the next couple of years. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you all. Do we have questions or comments from Regents? I'd like to understand the similar question that I asked Dr. Villarreal earlier. There's a lot in your plan, and you're not going to report everything in your plan. That's for y'all to manage as the plan progresses. But at what point do some of the bigger picture KPIs roll into the strategic plan that you might be reporting to us on? So that maybe both of you answer that.
Yeah, we're meeting regularly with Dr. Villarreal, and we've actually created a whole system of how we're going to show which KPIs cross over to the strategic plan with a little stamp that says which one of kind of the guiding stars within the strategic plan it correlates with. So it'll all be very clear that there's a family of plans and that there's overlap. But I would say we're meeting, if not weekly, every other week to discuss how the KPIs line up. You saw how they work together with the SEM and SMP. You'll see the same thing with the strategic plan.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Great work. I really appreciate the back-to-back of both of these reports. I think it gives us some really robust information, and you guys are doing a great job. David, you had your light on?
I wanted to say, I think we've been talking about this for a while, and it's great to see it. So don't take our lack of comment as, lack of enthusiasm. It's just it's great they got it. They're doing it. Good.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You know that if Regent Loeb has an opinion on something, he doesn't hesitate to let us know. All right, next we will have our this is an annual institutional program review report that Dr. Halcomb leads us through.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Regents, Dr. Escamilla. As Madam Chair had mentioned, we do this annually. We report the status of our programs. Today, Dr. Saumby and I will discuss our process of instructional program review and our most recent status report. Every 5 years, an instructional program has a comprehensive review called the program review. It is faculty-led and supported by the administration. The intent is not only to improve its quality, but to reaffirm the need for and viability of the program, identify program needs so that resources may be adequately budgeted, ensure excellence and ongoing enhancement of instructional programs. We evaluate about a dozen programs in each year, and we always align those with our SACS principles as well. The Program Review Committee is formed at the beginning of the process, and it's composed primarily of faculty within the program, but we do have people from outside the program, and also some of them we do include students. The Office of Institutional Effectiveness and Academics coordinates the program review process, training, and gives guidance. An instruction book is prepared and distributed at training sessions. The Institutional Research Office also provides data resources to the committee, including enrollment data, staffing, program demand, and degrees awarded. Typically, it takes about a year for the committee to do a program review, an in-depth 5-year program review. Once the committee has completed their report, it then goes to the department chair, the divisional dean, and my office as well to give a recommendation in 4 areas. And Dr. Saumby will talk about those 4 areas in a subsequent slide. Updates to the program review are done at a 2-year interval. After the 5-year, they do need to do a 2-year report. If they were on a probationary or conditional status, they need to do another report in 1 year. I'd like to now ask Dr. Saumby to discuss the 7 core criteria in the program review process.
Thank you, Dr. Halcomb. Instructional program review is guided by 7 core criteria to ensure that the program reviews are complete and comprehensive. I'll be the first to tell you it's a lot of work for these faculty committees. We provide as much guidance and support as we can. I'm going to go through quickly the context of these 7 criteria to give you a better idea of what these end products look like. The first criteria is assessment processes. Each year, instructional programs will do annual reviews based on program student learning outcomes. In the 5-year review, they look at each of the annual assessments for the 5 years and point out places of excellence, places that could use more strength, and make plans for future assessment years. They also look at program planning objectives and overall process review of their assessment processes. The second core criteria is faculty support of program and learning. So that takes a look at faculty who provide instructional support activities, sort of like the Math Learning Center we heard about earlier today. And it also reflects on the student satisfaction surveys that are provided by institutional research. The curriculum integration and mobility criteria focuses on how the program's curriculum integrates with other programs within the college, but also shows how students can transfer the credits they earn here to their next institution, which is the mobility portion of that criteria. Student educational intent looks at what happens after graduation. So we look at where students are transferring to and also for the appropriate programs or job placement rates after graduation. Effective personnel utilization is exactly what it sounds like. That's how faculty responsibilities are distributed through the program. So we look at course teaching loads, advising loads, and professional development opportunities throughout the years. Next, we also have cost effectiveness, which focuses on fiscal responsibility, resource allocation, operating budget, and for the appropriate programs, also equipment costs. Finally, the strategic advantage section gives programs the opportunity to display their unique community need. We also use a SWOT analysis for them to go through the strengths and weaknesses of their programs and set goals and recommendations for the following years. As Dr. Halcomb mentioned, yes, ma'am.
I have a question on we hear a lot about outcomes on the previous slide.
Sure.
The program student learning outcomes.
Yes.
Does that align with that new House Bill 8 and other, are those connected now? Will they be connected in the future when we talk about learning outcomes? Do we see that thread go all the way down at this level?
Sure. So I like to define program student learning outcomes as the things we want our students to know when they cross the stage. And so those vary by department, by program, and it's the list of, we usually suggest 3 to 5 per program, things to focus on, what they need to know. So that could be discrete skills if you're thinking about things like welding or nursing, but it could also be a method of analysis if you're thinking of things like literary studies. So it varies with the program's student learning outcomes, but that's the instructional focus. So when we say outcomes, not necessarily the number of students are crossing the stage, but what students know, what they've learned from us when they cross the stage.
Okay.
Does that clarify?
SLOs, as we refer to them and have for decades, are really the DNA that do ultimately tie. And I think you said it well, Dr. Saumby, is to the outcome of getting them across the stage, which is in effect the expectations of HB 8. So,
and I get that getting them across the stage has to mean something. We could get a lot of people across the stage if they weren't learning anything. But yeah, so I understand that connection. I just didn't know if things like, are there obstacles to completion? Are there high dropout rates or incomplete rates in that program? Are there things that keep students from completing that program of work?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, please.
So student learning outcomes is focused on instruction. So the stuff that we're teaching them, what they're learning. But whenever we look at things like student educational intent, That's graduation rates. Are students completing the things that they're hoping to complete with us? So those kinds of outcomes, I think what you're talking about are a little bit different than the program's student learning. But that is included here. We have this really wonderful relationship with Institutional Research, and they provide a big, I wish Sushi was here so he could hear me say thank you for that. They provide a really big data packet that slices and dices the programs. They look at graduation rates, transfer rates, all those student outcomes that you're discussing. And throughout the instructional program review, they're responsible, the programs, the faculty work groups, for talking about the data of their program, for discussing things like our students graduating at the rate that we're hoping for them to. Sure. Did you have more to?
I'd just like to add that I've been at institutions before where the level of activity at these depths or at this granular level, if you will, was non-existent. And I remember having to wake up a whole college as a chief academic officer in my past. That, as compared to the level of assessment that happens here on a daily basis that you rarely hear about unless it's an annual report on program review, is immense. I mean, you've got to know, and those are the quality measures, the measures that the college goes through at the individual faculty level. That is an example for many, as was evidenced in the last reaffirmation of accreditation report. So I just want you to know that to the individual faculty member level, it is an incredible amount of activity that's taking place. And I've just been at a place where that wasn't the case. And it's just a ton of work that we have to, that I'm trying to acknowledge here, really. Thank you, Dr. Saumby.
Yes, I appreciate that. So after this tons of work that they do gets completed, there's 4 possible outcomes. So as Dr. Halcomb mentioned, the program reviews are completed, they're submitted to the department chairs and from their divisional deans, then it gets delivered to Dr. Halcomb to provide a status for each program. A vast majority ends up with a positive status. So what that means is they complete one 5-year review, we schedule them for their next 5-year review, and at the 2-year mark, they send us an update on how they're doing accomplishing the goals they've set out for themselves. Many programs, that's what it looks like for them. For some, it's a conditional status. So what that means is they finish their 5-year program review, they're scheduled for the next one, but in the meantime, they submit annual reports, giving updates on the deficiencies that have been identified, just so we can all keep track and help to make sure that these programs get back on track. Some programs, not many, end up with a probationary status. So what that means is the deficiencies are numerous or severe enough to where they have 1 year to remediate whatever issues have been identified, or they'll face the 4th possible outcome, which is termination of the program. So this happens when programs have failed to correct the deficiencies that have been identified, and this happens after conditional or probationary statuses. One thing I'd like to mention here, I use the word deficiencies a lot, and sometimes that can just mean a change in the regional need. So we have programs who go through this process and realize that the job rates after graduation maybe aren't what they need to be to serve our students well. So I mention that because up next, Dr. Halcomb's going to give you the status update from the 23-24 program reviews, and you'll see a termination on that list. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saumby.
Yes, ma'am.
So you can see the status of the last 5-year reports: biology, child development, dental hygiene, education history, paralegal, liberal arts, management, mathematics, nurse education, occupational safety and health, speech and welding were all evaluated. It was a 5-year evaluation, and they all successfully were given a positive status by not only the committee recommendation, but the chair, dean, and myself. We did have one program that the committee has recommended for termination. Primarily, that's because of lack of enrollment. and number of majors. They dropped about 63% in the number of majors, whereas in 2022 they only had 4 majors at that time. And in computer science, they're focusing on 3 other pathways, such as AI, data science, and web development, versus the interactive game technology and simulation, which is not as high demand. So that is a primary reason that they have asked to have it terminated. And in follow-up, we do have to present it to a curriculum committee, coordinating board, et cetera, before it can be terminated. But I want to make you aware that we do look closely at our numbers. We do look closely at the data to make these determinations and the criteria that Dr. Saumby reviewed with you. Do you have any questions? I appreciate. Yeah. Oh, I didn't see you. Yes.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that later. Yes, I see that.
I didn't see your green light.
So what happens to those 4 students who are majoring in interactive game technology and simulation if we terminate the program?
The coordinating board says that we have to have a teach-out plan. And so we have to sunset things over a period of 2 to 3 years. And if the student does not want to go into another program, then we have to have that teach-out plan. Some students only just begun. Some may be near completion of those 4. And so we have to look very closely at them and make sure we're doing right by them.
In other words,
Yes.
they get an opportunity to
They
finish
get an
their-
opportunity, yes.
That's what a teach-out plan is.
Yes. Yes.
Get a chance to complete.
Yes, absolutely. Any other questions? Yes.
I assume in this specific case, it's so CS related that they transfer into, like that was what was hot and getting funded 5 years ago.
Yes.
AI is what's hot and getting funded now. So they have the capability to transfer into those other ones, and we
Yes.
still give them credit for what they took.
Computer science is one of those areas that over the years they've had to recreate themselves depending on what the workforce need is.
Yeah.
And, things that you may have learned 20 years ago are not relevant today in the computer science world. So they're constantly needing to be updated and recreate.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you.
How long have we offered that certificate?
I don't recall the date that it started. I'm sorry, I can get that data for you.
But is it and I don't need an exact date, thank you, though, but is it something we've had for several years, or?
We've had it for several years, yes. I'm looking at some data here. Yes, it has been several years.
Okay.
Yes. It's not new,
Okay.
no.
Thank you. So will this come back to us for action after you've taken those other steps?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Any other questions for Dr. Halcomb? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate your time today.
All right, move on to our pending business list. In June, we will have a workshop session. I think Delia put that on our calendars for our June meeting to look at the final version of the strategic plan. We could be ready to adopt. We could also defer that another month into July if we needed to, but we'll look to review that hopefully in pretty close to final form. And then we'll also close out the current strategic plan with our last report, according to the pending list of our current strategic plan. We'll do our policy review discussion and review professional contracts. And then in July, we will have an internal audit report to the board at our special meeting that we're going to have for the budget workshop in late July. So we will not have a regular meeting in July. These will be in our called meeting in late July. If there's any questions or additions on the pending item list? If not, we will move on to our consent agenda. We have 3 items on the consent agenda: approval of minutes, acceptance of investments, and acceptance of financial statements. Is there an item that needs to be pulled for separate consideration? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt as a consent agenda?
What? Wait again.
Wait, there, yes?
I can't help but notice that in the minutes of both the workshop and the meeting, I'm not listed as present or absent.
Okay. So with,
Yeah, apparently I'm
so
invisible.
in April, you were absent at that meeting, correct?
Yes, that's right.
So with that correction, Delia will make sure that gets corrected in the minutes. With that correction, is there a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented? Mr. Krull made that motion. Thank you. Second by Mr. Loeb. Is there any public comment on that? I see none. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes. We have 2 items on our regular agenda for action today. The first one is regarding the sale of the tax resale properties. There we go. Mr. Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the college on occasions is presented with a written property tax resale offer for the board's consideration. Today we have Mr. Marvin Leary from the law offices of Lindbergh, Guggen, Blair, and Sampson, who will discuss the 3 written offers with a combined net value of $42,912, of which Del Mar's share of the offer is valued at $4,239. At the completion of the sale, the properties will be restored to tax rolls with a combined value, taxable value of approximately $280,607. Mr. Leary?
Let's make a presentation first, then we'll ask questions. Go ahead,
Good
sir.
afternoon, Dr. Escamilla, Madam Chair, members of the Board of Regents. I'm Marvin Leary. I'm employed with the law firm of Linebarger, Goggin, Blair, and Sampson. I am not an attorney. I just work for attorneys. Important distinction that I have to make. So as part of our overall effort to collect your delinquent taxes, we write letters, make phone calls, knock on doors, file lawsuits when they're necessary, prosecute those lawsuits to judgment. And if folks still don't pay or there's properties abandoned and there's nobody to pay, orders of sale are issued to the county sheriff to sell the properties at public auction. And for 150 years, that was always done on the courthouse steps. A few years ago, the legislature authorized counties to adopt online sales. Nueces County has done that, so since 2020, our tax sales and our resales have been conducted as online auctions, which is why none of you that already know me have seen me here at your meetings for the last 3 or 4 years. I used to be a semi-regular fixture on your agenda. I'm sure much to everyone's chagrin. But anyway, these particular properties, 2 of them are located in the Hillcrest neighborhood that was part of the buyout for the new bridge project. A lot of properties in Hillcrest, there was nobody to track down to buy them from. The titles were so convoluted and so forth. Those are going to public auction. These are 2 that went to auction. The port's been buying these at public auction. They did not buy these 2 because there is on one of them, the house right there that you see at 1906 Palm. I hope you have the pictures so you understand why the amount that's being offered is so much less than what the appraisal district has it valued for. This individual constructed a large frame, never finished it. It was never properly dried in. It is just a hulk that needs to be removed. So the port is offering you the land value. Okay, makes sense, right? Another property is located just off the Hillcrest area, and it's just it's a house that's in just really terrible condition on Dempsey Street. And same thing, they're offering you basically the land value. Okay, those properties will not go back on the tax roll as revenue producing because they will be owned by the port, and the port, as many of you already know, is a tax exempt entity. The third offer, that's the property on Dempsey. That's the second one the port's buying. Third property is a vacant lot in the Washington Coles neighborhood down kind of at the intersection of San Juan and Parker's Alley, if any of you frequent that neighborhood very often. And this is a gentleman who lives there. He inherited a house there that you can kind of see on one side of the picture frame. And he's wanting to buy the lot next door to him so he can kind of expand his property and control what happens next to his home. So you're being offered a pro rata share of the taxes that are owed. This presentation and these offers have already gone to the CCISD board and to the Commissioners Court. They've both approved them. You happened to get your meeting scheduled before the city got me on theirs, and so here we are. So that's what you have before you today. If you approve them all, you're going to receive about $4,239, and you'll put one of them back on the tax rolls, and I believe Mr. Johnson will improve it. Certainly, he will improve it over what you see right there in that picture. So that's my presentation. It's usually very brief and low tech. I'll be
Thank
glad
you.
to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. So we have before us a staff recommendation to accept the offer presented by Linebarger, Gogan, Blair, and Sampson that includes the Del Mar's share of the offer valued at $4,239 approximately, and that would release the property tax lien.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second with a question.
I have a question. I know way back when we had a program where everybody had agreed to kind of let the city oversee if there were nonprofits that wanted to take lots like these and build houses on them, that we would waive our amount. Are we still doing that? Is that still happening?
No, that's been tried many times. It's never really feasible on a large scale because, again, these properties, a lot of them have been abandoned for years, and tax sales in Texas are made with no guarantees, no guarantee of a clear title. So we have to make, when there's a lot of dead or absent defendants, we make a diligent effort to locate them all, but sometimes that's not possible, and title companies will not issue a title policy on a property like that. So that's never really worked on a large scale. What has worked in recent years is that the Corpus Christi Housing Authority, through a subsidiary company called Thanksgiving Homes, has bought up some of the lots. Some of them they've just kind of sat on and let time heal the wounds of the title issues. Most of them they did their research on, bought the ones where the titles were pretty good, and they've built out a lot of houses. But there's not any program in place right now where things are being reserved and set aside for that particular purpose. They just, this stuff is all online. They see it. When they see something they're interested in, they contact us, and they either move forward with it or they don't, one or the other.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm going to vote for this, but I would just say if there's anything that we can do to get it towards somebody who will actually build something on it, I'd prefer that than the money.
Right.
The easy way to put it. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you again.
Next item on our regular agenda is discussion and possible action related to increasing tuition on the continuing education courses. Ms. Keys is going to start that presentation.
Yes, thank you very much, Regents. This afternoon, Dr. Rivera is going to present a different type presentation than we've done in the past regarding continuing education fees and tuition. What we're recognizing is that many of our tuition rates range from actually $5 to $1,400, depending on the course. And the complexity of the courses in continuing education is so diverse that to come to you at this point in time with House Bill 8 and all the realignment that is taking place for our different pathways in alignment to getting completion and awards, that it didn't make sense to come and ask for a standard percentage increase or a $1 or $2 increase when there's such a variation. So what we've done is Dr. Rivera and his team has done an analysis of the cost basis and looking at where we are within the cost of the different programs. And in the past year, some of the programs, the cost has gone up significantly. Transportation services is a great example, where the repairs on your trucks and then the cost of fuel and different things like that have greatly increased the cost. Also, just the supplies in some of the programs has gone up, and also the cost of salaries to hire the quality of people that we need, the instructors that we need who are qualified to teach in these very specialized areas. The salary ranges sometimes are upwards to $60 an hour from $20 to $25 an hour, depending on who's teaching and what the content is. So what we've done is you're going to see a request on specific courses or specific courses that align to a program, not across the board. Okay, so what we've done is we've looked at a cost analysis and then also a comparative to what's really the market. We're going to show you some data on the different colleges across the area that happen to offer the same programs. And some of them you're going to see a great difference from where we are. You're going to see where the time on task or the time of instruction varies greatly. And so it's very hard to find a real comparator on some of these. So what we're doing is we're trying to incrementally increase the price in some areas to become more competitive or more in alignment with what the competition's doing, but not increase it so dramatically. And so Dr. Rivera is going to present this by program and by course. Okay. Dr. Rivera?
Thank you, Ms. Keys. I appreciate that. I'm going to get right into the presentation. So essentially what we want to do this afternoon is to look at and explain the proposed increases for select courses as indicated by Ms. Keys. We also want to make sure that it's understood that we want to maintain affordability. That's the most important key takeaway that I hope that everyone gets out of this presentation is affordability. And obviously, we want to be able to optimize the metrics under House Bill 8 to the degree possible. And that's, as Dr. Escamilla mentioned earlier, that's ongoing. We're getting more data in. We're learning the rule book, so to speak, day by day. And going forward, we'll certainly be an expert at this House Bill 8. But it's a moving, fluid process at this point. And of course, we want to be able to position all our continuing education or dual enrollment type courses to not only be able to matriculate, but be stackable to other, say, credit type programs within the college. And that's how we're going to be able to optimize our House Bill 8 metrics going forward in time. And so those are just some of the key takeaways that I want to hopefully impress upon the Regents and Chairman Scott so that we could have this discussion and consideration. So our first avenue that we want to look at and consider is to approve a tuition increase for the transportation training course, or there's a couple of courses, and I'll preview those here in a few seconds. As even noted by Ms. Keys, the justification for the increase is primarily related to the repair and maintenance of the equipment and also the fuel. The fuel just keeps on fluctuating. It's you only have to go to the gas pumps every other week, and you see they fluctuate 20 cents one day, 10 cents the other day, and they go back and dump. So we're dealing with those types of fluctuations, as well as just having our skilled instructors, our qualified and skilled instructors to teach these courses. So what we have here before you is a purview of different other institutions, whether they're colleges or other vendors that provide training services under the auspices of transportation services. And our first comparator for our Class A and Class B is Coastal Bend College. They have, of course, a couple campuses, and you see there that they offer their Class A currently at $4,000 or 200 contact hours, and their Class B at currently at $1,500 or 120 contact hours. And you can kind of go down the list here. South Texas College or South Texas Vocational Technical Institute, they're at $5,000 at 160 hours. They don't offer a Class B. You go to South Texas College, down in the valley, they're at 4228 at 160 contact hours for a Class A. And then you have finally 100 Driving Academy. They're here in Corpus Christi, and they offer their Class A at $5,000 or 160 contact hours. Del Mar's current price or training course price is $4,500 for a 200 contact hour course for a Class A, and a Class B. For a manual transmission, it's $2,000 or 80 contact hours, and then $2,000 for a 50-hour automatic transmission, Class B. So the proposed tuition increases are pictured there for you on the slide. We have, for consideration, we have, again, currently $4,500 for a Class A manual. We're proposing to increase it by $300, and that would be about a 7% increase, and that would take it to about $4,800. And then a Class B manual, $2,000 is what we currently offer it at right now. We're looking at increasing that by $500 or $2,800 for the course. And then finally, a Class B automatic transmission, we currently offer that at $2,000. We're looking at increasing it at $500 for a total price of $2,500. And again, just kind of go through it. The Class A, the rising cost of fuel again is and the maintenance of the vehicles is the big driving force between all of these three increases within the Class A, B, automatic and manual transmission courses. Then also included is the Class B manual, the $800 increase. They're adding a 3-day extension to that, and that's giving our students more time to be able to master and pass the shifting techniques that have to be mastered in order to get the CDL license. And then on the Class B automatic transmission, we're adding a 1-day extension to this course, and of course that's also encumbering the cost of instructor, fuel, and other training costs associated with those. So that's for the Transportation Services Department. Any questions at this point?
Yeah.
All right, we go.
The Class B, does that include like school buses?
Class B is primarily for those operations of straight line trucks and dump trucks. So again, I would imagine as a Class B is for those types of school buses and such.
I mean, I know there's a shortage of.
Yes, for school districts.
Bus drivers, so.
Oh.
Yes. Buses and dump trucks.
All right.
Yes. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate that.
Right now, we're at 6 and 8 weeks, sometimes 10.
Backlog?
Yes. So.
All right, yeah, follow-on question, does the school district participate in the tuition for?
Yeah, typically the school districts pay their own way, and typically they train in the summertime.
Okay.
Thanks, Mr. Crow. Appreciate that.
All right. So I can't help but notice that with these increases, we're approaching the top end of course among our cohorts. Why are we not able to provide these services without going to the top end of the cost? Coastal Bend's doing it for $4,000. We're going to be at $4,800. Are they not having the same gasoline issues or diesel issues?
Sure. Go ahead, Dan.
Sir, we take a best value approach. We're also a training and testing facility too. So we also test all of our students. So as soon as they get done with their driving instruction, the next day they test and they go get a job. Coastal Bend and everybody else, with the exception of one, they have to go and send their students to DPS. Takes 4 to 6 weeks.
So the answer is we're providing more services.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's end-to-end services that they leave the college with complete credential.
And then I'm curious, are we going to be paying attention if, God help us, gasoline prices go down? Are we going to reduce the cost of this program?
We've been pretty flat for a long time. So if we don't anticipate fuel prices going down much, but
I'm not anticipating that either.
Labor prices continue to go up, and the parts continue to go up. So we're just trying to keep it, competitive.
Okay.
Best value.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate that. All right, we'll go on to our next section. Barring any questions, we have For other select courses we want to look at, and we're looking at, again, the justification, same thing, instructional costs, supplies, consumables, and such that are driving these reasons for our increases. So we're looking at 2 programs that are very popular, culinary and photography. Right now, we currently offer our course, 4-hour course at $50, and we offer a photography class. It's a 72-hour, if it's beginning, intermediate, and advanced. It's 72-hour bundle at $414. And you look at the other comparators, College of the Mainland, Lone Star, Austin, and you see some offer it, some don't. And I believe we're right where we need to be as far as the pricing of right now currently. Our proposed price increase would be to take it up for our culinary program up to $20, which would put us right at $60 for the course. And on the photography class, we're looking at $111 or $37 per course, beginning, intermediate, advanced. And that would put us at $525 for the total package of photography. And our next area that we're looking at is, I think these are going to be our QuickBooks type courses, administrative assistant type courses, and OSHA 30 courses. These are the purview of what's being offered now. Del Mar offers our QuickBooks for $225 for 80-hour contact hours, our administrative assistant class for $414 or 80 contact hours, and our OSHA 30, which is supplemented by our Texas Mutual grant at $165 for the course. And our proposed increase for these particular courses is going to be a QuickBooks, $75 additional $50 for the administrative assistant course, and an additional $10 for the OSHA 30 course. So again, adjusting for some of the inflationary supplies, instructor cost, and such is the primary justification for these increases.
Just out of curiosity, how does some of these colleges provide that OSHA course for free?
I'm going to ascertain that some of them have grants. I know that we utilize our Texas Mutual grant that we've had for some time, and we do supplement our students through that grant. Other colleges may have grants in just they're able to do that. At
Somebody's
no
paying
cost.
for it. Yeah, somebody's paying for it.
That's by the, yeah. So, okay. And our last area for consideration is our health science classes, our CNA class, Certified Nurse Aide, phlebotomy, and medical terminology classes. Again, this is as a purview of what's currently being offered. And you see that Del Mar is pretty much right there, $847 for its CNA, $726 for its phlebotomy, and $175 for its medical terminology course. And our proposed increases for these courses are for the medical terminology an additional $20 for this coming fiscal year, our CNA class an additional $88, and then finally our phlebotomy class an additional $79. And those are the programs or select courses that we are asking the Regents to consider for increasing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rivera. So we have a recommendation to increase tuition in the select continuing education courses as described in the presentation. Motion by Dr. Adami. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Averett. Mr. Loeb, you have a question.
So in the analysis on how to charge, do we have a common subsidy from the tax rate that we assign both to CE and credit courses? Because we have a fight every year about a 2% increase to credit tuition. And here we are on 30% increases on CE courses. And I'm just wondering, is there a common system that we have for determining who pay, what tuition is for both, or is it just totally split?
This is much more market driven, and there is not a tax rate allocation. I mean, if the student lives in, it's all the same fee, in district or out.
Okay, so under these, basically the tax rate subsidy is we pay for the building, or the tax rate's paying for the building, and then all the instruction and fees are cost recovery. You know, so like the professor's salary is paid entirely by what the tuition is.
That plus the state reimbursement, which now comes under House Bill 8, which is now different. We used to receive contact hours on most of the courses. None of the personal enrichment did we ever receive state reimbursement on.
Okay, so if we get a state reimbursement for that course, then we use that to lower the tuition?
Theoretically. But
Okay.
right now, many of the courses don't reach the threshold to receive state reimbursement.
Okay.
And so we're readjusting some of those courses. We have to have a certain number of hours, and they have to lead to an award and a criteria to receive that reimbursement, which we will receive. And that's one of the things we're doing, is adjusting the hours on some of these things.
Okay. I'm not going to fight about that this year, but I'd like some information about if other colleges are putting tax rate towards CE, because this is now half our students. And it seems odd to me that our community is paying a tax rate and all of it's going towards half our students, you know, or, I mean, a substantial portion is going to subsidize the tuition of a portion of our students and not the other ones.
I don't know of any in the state of Texas that has an in-district or out-of-district tax rate. It's for CE. It's
Okay.
never been done that we know of.
Yeah, this is all new, an all new frontier. and so
Just commenting like we're pivoting,
well,
so let's talk about pivoting.
Yeah, you allude to next year and so forth. I'm going to say we need to look out towards 27 to really understand what the full effects of HB 8 are. I'm not saying we don't address it.
Right.
I'm just saying it's going to be, well, next year this time, we're going to be a couple years out from realizing full gains across the board. So there's still development that needs to happen with this part of the curriculum. Again, we've changed a lot of big things statewide and so forth, and that's the good news and the bad news. So we have thought about that. It's the very nature of CE is going to change tremendously for us, and so duly noted on that, and we will keep this in consideration and talk more soon.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Regent Kelly has a question.
Thank you. So earlier today, we spent a lot of time about student retention and student recruitment, and highlighted in there was affordability. So how does this dovetail with our strategic initiative to keep and attract new students and our existing students?
Yeah, no, actually, that's actually what Jeff actually mentioned this in his presentation, and we're working very closely with our strategic marketing plan as well as our strategic enrollment plan to ensure that our CE courses are not only marketable, but they're actually meeting the needs of our community and the business and industry alike. And so we're working together in tandem with this team to do more promotion. I think Mr. Olson and Jason mentioned some of the tidbits or some of the examples of what is planned for this next coming year. And there's much more discussions that are taking place now. But given House Bill 8, given that it's being funded different as opposed to contact hours, it's going to be more indicative that we have students not only look at our programs because of its quality, but its ability to put folks into jobs immediately.
Yes,
and that's going to be the biggest driving point that we have going for us.
But we're doing that already, right?
Well, but the time to completion on these things, a 4 weeks, a 6 weeks turnaround for a Class A CDL puts them almost immediately into a job and on a shorter term, and one of the shortest terms out there that we have. So someone who goes and gets a CDL really quickly has an ROI that none of the other programs have, relatively speaking. Similarly, in health programs, the closest to that is a health program, but those are months in development. This is for $4,800 for 4 weeks of instruction. 4 weeks of instruction, the ROI on that is almost immediate. And there's your cost basis rationale for for these kinds of things. Of
Okay,
course,
but
Mark,
at $4,000, which is what we were doing before, were they not getting that in the same time frame?
So what happened, what also overran us was the certification of the testing process, where that happened. When I'm getting all the nods on my team, I know I'm paying attention.
Okay, so
to what's
there's
going.
been changes.
Yes, well, now you have the start, soup to nuts kind of situation, stem to stern, whatever analogy you want to use, that gets a student all the way through. So now more services. So in effect, the $4,000, given the services that we were offering, in some ways was undercharging the students for what they were actually getting. It costs money to administer, to be a testing site and do all those kinds of things. You can come to Del Mar College, get the complete thing in 4.5 plus short weeks. It's a couple weeks after that for testing and that sort of thing. And that's non-existent with the other models that are out there.
No, okay, I'm comparing us.
Yes.
If I took the course last month, I would have gotten those certifications in the same amount of time, and it would have cost me $4,000.
Yes.
And now after this meeting, depending on how this vote is, I will get that same service, but it's going to cost me $4,800.
So the programs also, I'm not going to mention which ones or anything else, but the programs in terms of the amenities, the equipment, the capabilities, the facts that we use simulators and all those kinds of things, as well as being a test site, the comparison in terms of the amenities that are afforded to these students, there is no comparison.
Okay, I'm not talking about we're comparing to Coastal Bend or something like that.
But the overall value, as our director was saying, is absolutely above and beyond. And you get the testing piece. The testing piece is a big component of this as well.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's all in one spot.
But last month I got that for $4,000.
And we were undercharging.
Okay,
Just a point of clarification, it was $4,500.
Oh, $4,500, excuse me.
It's a
Okay.
$300 increase.
Okay.
We were undercharging by, again, for the full services that you're getting here. As we've checked this out and deemed it, we were undercharging heretofore.
Okay, so prior to this, our other funding sources were supplementing continuing education, and now they're not going to be. I mean, we were paying our instructors, we were maintaining our equipment, and we were buying the fuel, so that shortcome was being made up from other funding sources.
From other sorts of there's a big an account for continuing education, and continuing education probably was subsidizing other different programs from within. So under the continuing education budget, you are pulling from one other just to balance. And we look at year end and balance against that entire budget. So yeah, there's subsidies coming from other programs within the continuing education side for sure. We do that every year.
Okay, so,
just as we do on the credit side.
But again, then we're the tuition for another continuing education program was supplementing one of these on this list.
Always. That's always the case with our entire budget on the credit side and the continuing education side.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, Regent Garza has a question.
Yeah, I look at the dollars, and from a percentage standpoint, again, it looks high, but when you look at the dollar amounts, it's reasonable. The only question that I've got is that did we do an analysis of the potential elasticity of the demand? I mean, I'd hate for us to reduce the enrollment in a program that we're just trying to start off. I would think that it's probably on the health care side. The demand is high. You got people waiting, standing in line to try to get into those programs. So if you charge a little bit more in order to recoup your cost, it's right. It's almost a no-brainer. But on, say, for instance, the culinary side, we've got a huge investment in equipment and in facilities. You know, I know we're offering tons of value, and the value is worth what you're asking them to pay. But if you're trying to build a program, will we injure the ability to be able to do that?
On the culinary, what we found is that $40 for 2 nights was barely covering the cost of the food, and so by going up to 60, and 60's they didn't show it, but in town, there was 2 other schools that were charging 60. And so we're just meeting the cost, and we're paying an instructor $25 to $30 an hour to teach the class. So it just doesn't work. I mean, it's $20 more for 2 nights.
Well, and these are personal enrichment courses where
You don't, yeah, there's no state reimbursement
there's
on
no
this.
state reimbursement for it, and if it's something that, if I want to learn how to improve my cooking skills, which my wife would probably agree with, I would take a course.
That's right.
Right.
I took one last summer. It's great.
It's a good date. It's a good date night thing, I think.
Yeah.
You can take it together.
It's really, what they're doing is they're running classes, about 8 to 10 people, 2 nights, different topics, and it's truly a personal enrichment type thing, and there is no state reimbursement. And it is using our new facility that's state-of-the-art,
And we're usually talking to the faculty and the directors of those programs, and they're sitting there saying, look, I got to cover the cost of this filet is not cheap, or this shrimp is not cheap, or this hamburger is not cheap. Nothing's cheap, ever. And so they're covering the costs. We're not making any money on those courses at all. We're covering our costs doing more what's called, it's part of the curriculum that's called community service. And it's not designed to make money, but you certainly want to stay ahead of it and break even on those kinds of things. When you start looking at the truck driving, very technical, highly insured, insurance is extremely expensive to insure those trucks. How many trucks do we have now?
15, I believe.
15 buses and trucks and so forth.
Our trucks are all old, too.
Although they're under the same umbrella and so forth, we are certainly just trying to keep up. And then when you become a testing site, the liability of all of that as well, becoming a testing site, it really just magnifies the costs and so forth. It's just a very expensive endeavor that we got to stay up with. But the fuel prices, Regent Kelly, just to kind of go back to that, you're going to manage and you just got to ride out the waves with it that come with the economy.
Any other questions on the presentation? We have a motion and a second on the floor. Do we have anybody need to rehear the motion? It's to adopt as presented. All those any public comment on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. Let me ask, kind of based on the conversation today, when we have our policy review discussion next month, can we add on to that agenda of the process by which we would review our policy on setting tuition and fees for continuing education? I think that this probably warrants a little bit broader discussion about what that process looks like. Not that I don't want that discussion next month. I want to put that policy discussion on our list and give you all time to prepare for it. But it seems to me it would make some sense to do what is required by law, but provide staff much more flexibility in terms of how they're responding to market cost and needs, and not that everything would have to come back to us for every $20 increase in something. So I would be very interested in hearing a presentation on how we might, or at a future meeting, on how we might be more flexible in our continuing education fees.
I was writing on my list to talk to Mark afterwards that I don't understand why it's called tuition, and maybe we need to have some fees
charges
that staff changes with whatever they are every year.
Yeah, and this one got away from me too. It's student charges. When you say student charge, what comes out of the student's pocket?
Right.
And then that's the big umbrella, and so duly noted.
All right. The board will now go into closed session under Texas Government Code 551.071, consultation with legal counsel, and Texas Government Code 551.074, personnel matters, and the time is 3:47 p.m. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming back from closed session at 4:38 p.m. We have no action coming out of closed session. Last item on our agenda is calendaring. This Friday night is spring graduation. at the American Bank Center at 7 p.m. with a record number of graduates participating in the ceremony. So everybody wear your comfortable shoes and be ready for lots of good handshakes. Our June meeting is going to be on Tuesday, June 11th. Again, we will have a workshop that morning to work on our strategic plan. And then we will not have a regular board meeting in July. We will not meet again after that until July 23rd for our budget workshop. And then we go into our August calendar meeting. Is there anything else for the good of the cause? If not, oh, yes. Do you want to come to the microphone?
To the microphone, please.
Turn it on. It's not on. There we go.
There's a slight change in graduation, so I would like everyone to be there by 6:15 because I need everyone. We're going to pre-seat people so that you can get to your seat on time, and we can start on time with students processing. So we are preceding faculty and we're preceding stage party. Is that not right, Gracie?
Great.
Save time. Okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for that correction.
7:15, I'll be there.
6:15. One year, Jonda and I we almost took over his cause. We literally, he was late. And so Jonda was going to read all of his stuff. I was going to make all the welcome and stuff. We'd already divided up his duties. And then he showed up at the last minute. All right. We stand adjourned at 4:40 p.m.